creation of the patriarchy.
And that's our opening. We are live. We are live with yet another Scratchcast, and we'll be discussing whatever comes to mind. So maybe some video games, maybe some stupidity, uncertain. I am here with one of my longtime friends, and he's going by the name of Basketball Jones.
How's everybody doing?
And
isn't there?
Yeah, right. There are 0 viewers, and we've got my good friend Riskman, and he is a Let's Player on YouTube, and his channel will be in the description after the show. Okay, so what games have we been playing lately? I guess we can start off with that.
I haven't been able to play much lately, but I was playing Fire Emblem, which was very it's problematic. I'll just leave it at that.
I myself am playing a lot of Ark Survival Evolved, where you get to tame dinosaurs if they don't murder you first.
I remember that game when you briefly streamed it.
Yeah, how are you liking that, by the way?
I'm enjoying myself, except for one of the servers that I'm playing on has a lot of rules that I don't much care for, so a buddy of mine actually made his own server for me to play on.
It's always a good solution. I actually I had a rough time with that game. I tried it out for a little bit, and I couldn't play it with a controller, but because of my I've always got issues with my hands and like nerve-related stuff, so I can't really do like keyboard and mouse games very well. So I just ended up refunding it until maybe until they improve like controller support.
Yeah, well, to be fair, it is still a year out before it's initially released, so they might kick it up a notch.
I was actually really excited for it though because it does look cool.
Who wouldn't want to kill dinosaurs? And in fact, we just heard some loud noises outside, and I heard one of the glasses shaking. So I could have sworn we were in Jurassic Park if it weren't for the fact that this is a place that sucks.
If you open the blinds, you might just see a T-Rex eye or something.
Yeah, in which case I'm not. I've just refused to die here. So, like, if you must kill me, at least take me somewhere else.
I've been working on that Final Fantasy IV hack, Unprecedented Crisis.
Mm-hmm.
It's actually pretty good, but I mean there are some poor choices. Like he removed the float spell entirely, so when you're forced to walk through the caves that have the damaging patches, you pretty much just have to deal with it. And they didn't reduce the damage to like 1 point of damage the way they did with Final Fantasy 1 feel because they brought back the ice cave.
Yeah, since that seemed to be like all he wanted to do was basically Final Fantasy 1, Final Fantasy 4 edition.
And there's an overuse of bats.
What is this, Castlevania?
that red feast attack, it's like the worst thing ever. And I'm probably like 20 levels higher than when I was originally starting to fight bats, and it still kicks your ass.
Well, not only is it a pain to deal with, but it takes so long. It's like I want to hit the turbo button just to get past it.
Oh yeah, that's what I was thinking. It's sitting through the battle is like headache-inducing because every animation just feels so slow. Even when you're on the highest battle setting.
That probably won't be one of my first choices of hacks to play.
What is the selling point of that particular hack anyway? I'm not familiar.
It just came out. Basically, it starts out just like the old game, but very early on, it branches off into an entirely different path. So the story is a lot different. I mean, it's almost a new game.
It's almost the original Final Fantasy.
Yeah, in a sense. Except they added, there's the Dark Crystals from Final Fantasy IV still in it. Golbez is still the villain, at least for now.
Spoilers.
Yeah, Cecil is not yet a paladin, and I'm probably like 15 to 17 hours into it.
Wow.
And from what I read, you don't even have to become a paladin. Like you can remain a Dark Knight if you so desire.
Unless they change the stats on him, that's not a very worthwhile endeavor.
Yeah, he didn't break 1,000 HP for a very long time. Now it seems kind of like it caught up a little bit, but at first it's rough.
Big question: does he have Dark Wave?
He does.
But only for certain swords.
Yeah, there's like he can use standard knight swords, and then there's specifically Dark Knight swords.
So they're already better than Paladin right there, because what does a Paladin have? Cover and white magic. Oh, big deal.
Yeah, if they fix the HP, it would definitely be a lot better. Although I do admit the way After Years treated the Paladin class was a lot better because he got better white magic.
Well, they never had anybody that was really a Dark Knight, so we never got to see how they would have handled that one.
That's true.
I'd be curious to see. I mean, I guess Golbez was the closest thing to it.
Well,
I mean, Mysterious Man. There was Hooded Man who was Kane, spoilers, and then I think there was a Mysterious Man who was obviously Golbez.
Man in Black, I believe they just referred to him as.
Yeah, I don't even know why they bothered to do that. I mean, it was obvious it was him.
Man in Black. What did he have, a neuralizer too?
He should have, because they would need to forget his identity to not know who he was.
Well, he didn't actually specify what he identifies as. Therefore, it's okay. He can be. They shouldn't have even called him a Man in Black. I mean, that's already offensive. We didn't ascertain his identity at all at that point.
You gotta go for those preferred pronouns. Yeah, I forgot what I was gonna say. I'm at a point in the hack where you're basically free to take on multiple quests. The problem is the way he has it programmed right now, and I don't know if this is something that's going to change because I know that it's still being updated. If you have a full character roster and you go and you try to recruit another character, the character that gets overwritten by the new one is deleted from the game completely forever. So that's a big problem.
That is a significant bug.
Yeah, I mean, he put a warning in the text right before you decide whether you want to recruit somebody to make sure that you don't do that, but it's still a pretty large bug.
That's like, I mean, even Final Fantasy VI, for all its bugs, when you try to recruit Gao, in the, spoiler warning, in the World of Ruin, it tells you straight up, take 3 people, otherwise it's not going to work.
Yeah.
He doesn't just overwrite one of your characters.
God, that would suck.
Instead of saying, hey, we didn't program for this, they said we at least programmed to make it so that we tell you what to do or else. Which isn't really programming around it, it's just being lazy. They tested it before they released it, but they didn't want to fix it.
That's true.
Like we'll just tell them, and if they screw up, it's their own fault. That's what we try to do for years as programmers. Just say, well, hey, if they can't get it, then they lose at everything. But then they say, well, we can't have them do that. So if our clients want to use Internet Explorer 6, which was released in 2001 and it's 2015, then they should still be allowed to use it.
Isn't it that kind of thinking that almost led to the Y2K event?
Yeah. It's the same the same idea of we'll just let people use legacy systems because they say, well, it's too expensive to change everything, and then something like that happens and they say it's too expensive not to change it.
Okay, then. I mean, I guess whatever they think works for them.
It's all about saving the company money, except when it's not about saving the company money.
But wouldn't you save more in the long run by having everybody on the same page? And
Yeah, but then somebody has to agree to that, and nobody's willing to risk their job to do that.
Well,
Or somebody who doesn't know better says, well, why can't we just get these lazy programmers to fix it? Like, because it's a hardware problem, not a software problem. Well, I
where
don't
I
know what that
work,
is. That's computer stuff to me.
there's instrument controller systems that still run Windows XP with software that is literally 15 to 20 years old that controls these instruments. And while there have been updates to these softwares to allow for Windows 7 environments, they just won't pay for the money. Or they won't pay for the product. They flat out refuse.
That's when they want to take the if it isn't broke, don't fix it. But then when it is broken, then the first thing they look for is somebody to blame.
And that's where I come in.
That's usually where I came in, which is why I stopped programming.
I was about to say that I kind of miss Windows XP in a way, but I think it's just that I liked the layout.
Windows XP was great for what it was when it was out. Much better than Windows 98, anyway.
Or ME.
I
I
think
don't even.
I never even.
I want to say the lowest one I ever had was ME. I don't think I had a PC until after ME came out.
I'm dreadfully sorry to hear that.
We never had ME. We went from 3.1 to 95 to. Well, we started with DOS, then we went to Windows 3.1, then 95, 98, 2000, and then
Oh
XP.
wow!
Well, then I did 2003, then I did XP. Then I did 7, and now I'm at 8. Will I go to 10? Who knows?
I'm kind of scared to go to 10.
I've seen people that actually have 10 running on systems, and it is very unstable.
No surprise there. Maybe instead of having conferences in Florida, they should actually work on stabilizing their software. But good thing that doesn't happen with Apple, am I right, guys?
They've only been on version 10 of their OS for how many iterations now? 10? 10.10?
Yeah, it's been a while. I want to say 2005 or 6 is when they did OS X.
I've only actually used an Apple computer like one. Well, a more modern one, I should say, because I remember I used to use them in like elementary school.
Yeah, that's when we used ours, and then they moved to Windows 95, and they're like, "This is really exciting, guys." I guess. All that meant is we couldn't play Oregon or Amazon Trail anymore.
The good old Oregon Trail where you had the little white stick figure looking guy, which is offensive, and you're just standing in the forest shooting at the big white animals. And then I just realized that everything was white in that game.
Well, Amazon Trail was more varied, but unfortunately that's cultural appropriation, so.
There was an Amazon trail?
Yep, it was created by some state agency in Minnesota.
That's interesting.
And I think they also made the Where in the World is Carmen Sandiego edutainment game, which actually wasn't bad. Like those are both educational games, but they actually weren't that bad.
Yeah, I think I agree with that.
Well, they were so good they made a TV series, Where in the World is Carmen Sandiego? Two series, actually. One was a game show, and the other one was a cartoon series.
I do remember that, yeah.
I remember both, but I was actually surprised that it was a game show. I remember the regular cartoon series. We watched it in school for some reason. Along with Bill Nye, where I don't think I learned anything. I'm like, we could just be doing this instead of watching somebody else do it.
Where he like sucks the egg into the glass bottle or something like that.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, because they never really went into enough specifics so that we were actually learning. It was just like it was those type of science classes where it's like, oh, this is cool. Look at what you can do, but it doesn't explain anything about it, so you don't know how to do it. Like you don't know the physical attributes that allow this to happen, or you don't learn anything about like boiling point temperatures or anything like that. It's just like, hey, let's watch some guy suck an egg.
In more ways than one. No.
Yeah. Like, I remember when they didn't just throw us in front of the TV to get us to pretend to learn. We actually did stuff like we tried to mimic or create our own volcano so we could actually see. I remember they actually told us, like in first and second grade, why there were certain chemical reactions based on what we mixed together that made an eruption similar to a volcano. But after like third grade, which is when they really started throwing all that in front of us, it was like, oh, this is called a pulley. That's about as much science as you're going to do. Now go watch Bill Nye.
I do remember doing the volcano thing in probably more than one grade, actually.
You know, I never did the volcano thing. The only experience I ever had with that particular chemical reaction was when I was watching The Simpsons a long, long time ago when I was still a young boy. And Bart had gotten in with the really, really smart class, and they're like, you know what happens when you mix acids and bases? Of course I do. And then all of a sudden, boom.
Yeah, I remember that because they used it for like a commercial bumper on the network that usually showed it where I lived. They would use that for a Simpsons commercial, and they would always close with that. It was like, you know what happens, right? And then he pours it, and then instead of showing the explosion, it's like, watch The Simpsons tonight at 10 o'clock or whenever it came on.
Well, yeah, I mean they gotta save the best part for you to actually go and watch the episode.
Yeah, I get it. Nick Denton and everything. Or is that Dick Nitton? Am I right, guys?
So I heard that Gawker might actually be like changing the name of their website, like doing a relaunch.
A reboot?
Yeah, I'm not sure if it's actually going to happen. Oh,
Gawker
looks
Media
like it's
reboot.
going to be. Looks like they're being sarcastic from the looks of it. Because
I just can't wait.
The headline is Gawker is changing its name to the Ultimate Nice website.
Oh, yes. I guess they're trying to be cute or something.
Well, you know, because it's totally okay to post a 5-year-old sex tape of Hulk Hogan and then bitch at people when they download the leaked nude photos of female celebrities.
Yeah, and all the why were there no women at some stupid event.
Even though you look
articles.
at the photos and, you know, there's like a decent amount of them.
Or the top 25 dicks or whatever in video games, and then it's like hacks or ROM hacks are not allowed, and then it's like number 5. This is a nice ROM hack.
Yeah. Oh. No standards, none.
They don't even follow their own rules.
That should be their
Yeah,
tagline.
exactly.
That
I
should
mean,
be
at the very least, just have some consistency in your beliefs. If you're going to demonize people for downloading leaked photos, which I don't think people should have done that. You can't go and post some guy's sexual encounter video. It's just hypocritical.
And then I guess they were trying to either they were the one that violated his privacy with the whole or the racist remark he made or something.
Oh yeah, that whole thing came out now, and everybody just jumped on the bandwagon to hate him now.
Well, they're even when people said like, hey, the WWE has said like made racial slurs before, they're like, well, that's acting. I was like, and so how does that make it any better that somebody decided to write in like racial slurs and nooses in the show? How does that make it any more better than what Hulk Hogan said in the privacy of his own home?
Yeah, because couldn't you argue that the writer that wrote that is coming from it's coming from his own personal hatred or something?
Yeah. And they're like, well, Vince McMahon, it doesn't count. He was saying it as a joke, and so the reaction was all scripted. It was like, yes, that means somebody actually sat, wrote down the script, and said, you know what? It's a good idea to use the N-word in a professional wrestling show.
I must have stopped watching wrestling before they actually did that, because I don't remember ever seeing anything like that.
Well, I saw the clip a year ago. Or I know. I think like Razor Fist used it in one of his reviews, but then now that the whole Hulk Hogan thing has shown up, everybody has shown that video like 100 times now, or the actual video where they actually said it instead of just his review where he took a clip from that video.
Gotcha.
I remember one time, it wasn't Vince McMahon, but one of the other people. There's an announcer, I think, like Jerry the King Lawler, I think his name was.
Oh, okay.
F-bomb live on general TV.
Nice. I wonder if he got in trouble for that.
Oh, I'm sure he got fined.
Probably a slap on the wrist. WWE paid for it, and then everybody's happy again.
With their endless paychecks.
I'm actually surprised they're a publicly traded company. Especially with all the ratings the declining ratings they've been having.
Well, I mean, what is WWE anymore? I mean, ladder matches, bra and panty matches. It's like,
that's a thing?
What is this? Yeah, that's a thing.
Wow, I really have been out of the loop for ages. I seriously haven't watched wrestling probably in like 12 to 13 years.
Yeah, it's been a while for me too, but I remember right before I quit, I remember seeing a ladder match? What the frick is a ladder match? Oh, you climb a ladder and you grab a briefcase. Okay. Bra and panty matches? Oh, apparently we strip each other. Oh, all right. Yeah, I'm done with this. Click.
How do you even win that?
You know what he wants you to do, right? Pull his legs.
I remember. I think I read in a YouTube comment, so you know it's full of intelligence, where somebody said that wrestling is basically just porn for 11 and 12-year-olds.
Oh God.
Because that's who it's for, because they get all excited about like the bra and panty matches. Because apparently when you're 11 and 12, you don't think, well, let me just go look online or something for this. Because there's no 12-year-old that's ever done that before.
I don't know what you're talking about.
I've never been 11 or 12 myself.
I mean, I don't know. Maybe I was a weird 11 or 12-year-old, but that at 11 or 12, that wasn't really where my interest was at.
My interest was saving the princess, dang it.
Yeah. And she had clothes on.
Yes, she was never like, yeah.
Well, my interests were saying that Hanson sucked, and
oh yeah,
Super Nintendo learning Japanese, and sometimes there were girls every now and then, but usually it was saying that Hanson sucked. So if there ever were girls involved, that's usually why I said Hanson sucked, because they're like, oh, Hanson is great. And I'm like, this is terrible.
Wasn't their hit song like just a bunch of nonsense words?
Yeah, it was like bop.
Yeah.
And that's all they said. It's like, you guys think this is good? And then what else did they like? I don't remember they like crap like O-Town and
Oh no.
and every time I hear O-Town, all I can think of is Rocco's Modern Life.
Well,
Rocco's Modern Life. Sorry.
there's actually another. There's actually another use for O-Town too, if you remember.
Oh yeah, but that doesn't count.
A local. This kid we used to know referred to a local city here as O-Town.
It's like the major city in the area, which there's like 40,000 people there, I think.
I'm actually not sure at this point. It's grown quite a bit, so let's see.
According to Wikipedia, which is known for its accuracy,
Yeah,
it has 13,901 people.
And that's in 2010.
In that city. Yeah. And the county itself has 62,000, which I think that's how many people are in the city that I was born in, which is a few hours away.
So that says something for the size of the area where I'm at.
Oh no, sorry, it's twice the size. It's where I was born is 32,000 in the city, and then 44,000 in the town. So combined, that is 70-something thousand. But I'm not going to dox myself, so I'm not going to say what that city's called. But collectively, there's 70-something thousand people in that.
Huh.
Yeah, the state which we're referring to has weird. They have weird political boundary, or they have weird rules for political boundaries and districts, and so they have villages, they have towns, and they have cities, and I think hamlets. And villages is basically an incorporated city, but it's no more than, I think, 5 square miles or something. And then a city is another incorporated entity, but a town isn't. It's just there. But
I didn't even know that much.
Well, I don't think they really have it where you live, but where I live, it's a very common thing to have, like, basically 2 places with the same name, but they're different. They're different things. Like the last time I was there, it'll tell you when you're in the city and when you're in the town, because they both have the same name. So it'll tell you like, oh, you're in the town of so and so, or you're in the city of so and so, which made it confusing because I was born in the city, but I lived in the town.
Oh, okay.
Don't ask how that works out. It just that's just what they do.
So apparently, on this whole Hulk Hogan is a racist thing, he's been removed from the upcoming WWE 2016 video game. I mean, they're just kind of like erasing him now from existence.
So it's like Back to the Future, almost.
Yeah.
I don't exist in this timeline. No.
He okay, that was funny. He's I guess he's gonna be disappearing. Like he'll be looking at his old DVDs from his heyday, and he'll slowly be fading out of the image.
And then eventually somebody will go and make a video game review about it, and they'll say, since when does Hulk Hogan have a white sleeveless or a red yellow sleeveless shirt? Shouldn't it be red or something like that? It was red in the movie, and then it'll show Gremlins 2.
Oh, Gremlins 2. That was the sequel that was self-aware.
It was very self-aware. I used to watch it all the time as a kid, but I can't watch it anymore. The way that they die is just, it's not good for my uh, natural development as a human being. I mean, it's good that they die, but I don't want to see gremlins popping out of their back while they're getting electrocuted. I mean, the electrocution part's good, but I don't want to see the gremlins coming out of their back. And I don't want to see them singing New York, New York.
It's been so long since I've seen either of those movies.
Well, I'll put it to you this way. I remember seeing it once, like a few days after Hurricane Katrina. It was the first time I actually got to watch TV because the electricity and all that came back on. And that was a movie that came up, and I finally was able to get one phone call or one text message, and it said to just go back home or to where I grew up after the place where I was born. And so I was just like, yeah, I'm gonna leave. And they're like, it's 1 o'clock in the morning. Yeah, I'm still leaving. Like, you're gonna drive over 30 miles of swamp. That's all right. If I fall into the water, it's better than finishing this movie. But it's all right because I was going like 100 miles an hour. I mean, I was going the legal speed limit at every turn.
Of course, that's what we all do here. Follow the law to the fullest.
So please disregard Louisiana State Troopers. I was always driving at the legal speed, which was 55 in one place, but that's actually not as low as it is in some parts of New York, where it's 35.
I actually, yeah, I told you about it, but I actually got pulled over last night.
Yeah, without a ticket.
Yeah, luckily.
So,
But I mean, I didn't do anything to get a ticket as far as I'm concerned. There's this road, County Route 8, and it's very narrow. There is no white line. The edge is just, dirt and gravel. So I always find myself like hugging the yellow line. And he waited till after I got off this road. Apparently he was behind me. And then he pulls me over. And I was like, why did you pull me over? Like I wasn't speeding. And he's like, oh, I saw you go over the divider line a bunch of times. And I was like, I'm pretty sure I'm just, being cautious and trying to stay away from the edge of the road. And then he's like, oh, well, you're on blah, blah, blah. I'm like, no. I was like, maybe the most I can say is maybe I'm tired, considering it was like nearing 1 in the morning. But
maybe you should have told them that they already caught the escaped convicts.
Like, they're dead, man. It's okay.
I remember that because we were actually there when they finally caught the last guy. And I was like, only somebody would think to run toward Canada. And because I remember when they first escaped, they're like, oh, they're probably in Mexico by now.
Yeah.
And then you come to find out that they were, well, one got killed, and then the other was just by Canada. I was like, yeah, that's a great place to go and go toward Montreal. That I'm sure that'll work well. And so literally after they finally caught that guy, when we were driving around the state, there were all these state trooper cars just sitting everywhere, just waiting to pull people over for speeding. It's like, oh, so I guess now we can go back to business as usual. Which I don't understand, because the part where I was in, there's like a 40-mile-an-hour speed limit, and people were going 60, and they're just like, yep, not going to move the car.
Yeah, the driving there is nuts, to say the least. It's headache-inducing. I won't do it again.
I find most big cities, people just don't know how to drive, or they don't have the courtesy to do proper driving.
No, especially not anywhere I've been to. I mean, despite the fact that they'll always say it's different, I didn't see too much difference between where I live and in New York. Although I do see a larger difference here in that people just never want to pay attention, and people want to stop at red lights all the time because they have red light cameras everywhere to pull over all those lovely tourists. and all their stupid toll road crap.
I really don't like those cameras. Some of them are very unfair. I got caught by one once, and it was like the situation where it would be totally impossible to stop. And I wasn't even speeding or anything, and I still got charged like $80 for the ticket or something like that.
Holy crap, that's a lot.
Yeah, it was bad.
In Florida, they keep posting the signs, and they're like $262 fine.
Ouch. They must be really desperate for some extra state cash.
Well, yeah, that's as far as I could ascertain. Because it was like everywhere I went, I saw Florida State Troopers. Every road I've been on since I've been here, I've seen a Florida State Trooper. And it's not just one per road. It was like one I saw like 20. I saw them probably on average at once every 10 miles. And then the other one, which is the Turnpike, I saw 2 or 3. And usually, at least in Texas, you don't usually find them on toll roads. You don't see them very often. Like you might see them on the more heavily traveled ones, but you don't usually see them in rural areas because toll roads they're not really a new thing, but their proliferation of toll roads is a new thing. So they usually have like 80, 85 mile an hour speed limits, and so they don't have cop cars on the side because everybody's already going really fast as it is. And unless it's like in a really busy area, whereas here in Florida, it's like you can go anywhere and you can see them.
Well, it is nearing the end of the month. Maybe they're out trying to get
trying to meet
quotas.
quota, which is totally illegal, and they don't do that, guys.
I'm pretty sure
Really?
that's yeah. I mean, I'm pretty sure that's partially what last night was about. The other part was he was probably expecting to find somebody drunk, and well, considering I don't do that, he kind of pulled over the wrong person.
They did that to me a couple of times, but they figured, well, I mean, you are a black guy and you're in a car and it's night and you're driving, so we wanted to go ahead and check and make sure you didn't steal the car.
DWB.
Yeah, that happened to me twice in the same day. And they're like, well, since you're already pulled over, we can go ahead and run your license and your plates and make sure you didn't steal anything.
Like, geez, could you get it over with and then make a note so nobody else has to repeat this process, please?
It's like, well, the real reason is we said you were speeding, but we didn't say how fast you were going. So the real reason is we wanted to see if you stole the car. Like, yes, I would drive 200 miles to take a car to a chop shop.
Well, I mean, to be honest, if you're out stealing cars, you're probably not in the best mindset.
Yeah, but you're probably not going to be intelligent enough to cover your tracks that well to say, you know what, let me go to a completely different city to take my car to a chop shop.
Fair point.
And if you're going to steal a car, you probably wouldn't steal a base model with no power windows or power anything. You would try to get one where you could actually get some decent money off of it. Not one that literally fell apart a year later.
Yeah, you have to go for the mid-range cars. You go too high-end, you're too obvious. Too low-end, not enough money.
But I mean, these were like in backwater rural areas of Texas where these guys were trying to incriminate me with their razor-sharp detective skills. Because the reason they said they stopped me over is they said one of the lights that lights up my license plate was out.
Driving their police cars with the Confederate flag in the back window.
Oh man, if only I had seen that.
I must admit, I'm mildly confused. I didn't know that you could be pulled over for having a light on your license plate being out.
Yeah, I've never heard of that either.
That well, like I said, after they went and ran my plates and they couldn't find anything, then that's when they said, well, the real reason we pulled you over is because we wanted to see if you were stealing this car.
That's pretty awful.
Because you fit the profile and everything. We don't have a profile, but you fit it. But I'm trying to think if I've seen like a proliferation of Confederate flags, and I have to say it's more than likely in somewhere in Louisiana where I saw it, and then like East Texas, but that doesn't surprise anybody who's from there.
I actually saw one today, on a T-shirt. Actually, it was some teenage kid. They're having a big sale, yard sale event in the and some teenager was wearing it with the cut-off sleeves and the trucker hat. And big old Confederate flag T-shirt.
I guess I don't understand why people feel the need to have that flag displayed. I mean, well, what is the point? Are they trying to say something? I don't get it.
I don't know. When I used to work at a different job, like 10 or 11 years ago, and I guess my assistant manager was talking to me about somebody that either used to work there or somebody she was related to. No, it wasn't that job. Well, it was part of that one, but it was when I worked at a movie theater, and they were because I said that I don't believe people who say heritage and not hate, because how does a flag? I mean, why is a flag representing your heritage? I don't see people that descend from the Bourbon family in Louisiana going around carrying the Fleur de Lis flags everywhere. If they carry those flags around, it's because they're New Orleans Saints fans.
Well, I mean, a very simple thing would be like if somebody decided to prop up a Nazi flag. It's like, really? Okay, I don't know. Okay.
I mean, I'm not on the camp of people that are like, oh, everybody should take it down. But what I don't understand is what I never believe is when people are like, well, we're just hanging it up there because it's showing our heritage and everything like that. And it's like, or we're proud of our heritage. And it's like that flag doesn't really represent your heritage.
Well, that's an interesting reasoning to me, simply because like I'm in upstate New York, so what does that have to do with anything? Unless everybody that I've seen have it, is apparently from the South, which I kind of doubt.
Well, that was the other thing. When the high school I went to, since it was named after a Confederate general, obviously we had a lot of Confederate flags due to that reason. But the people that were going around like sticking flags to their trucks, because this is Texas after all, they weren't even, their ancestors were not from they weren't even from the U.S. They were from Mexico. And so it's like the people that you see making the justification now were not the people that were carrying those flags around when I was in high school. And then the only reason they did it is because of the high school they went to, which sucked, for the record, but that's another conversation for another time. But I never believe when people are like, well, it's really just heritage. It has nothing to do with hate. Okay. When I read the Confederate Declaration of Independence, they specifically state that they wanted to have whatever control over their slaves. So you can't tell me that it has nothing to do with slavery at all. Slaves, they're not, the states' rights argument that they perpetuate now is revisionist history. That might have had something to do with it, but under the context of you're telling us how to deal with our property, aka our slaves, and we don't like that. That's the political, or that was the political climate of the time.
Yeah. The only thing I've found ridiculous about it was like, just no matter what, I mean, you can't just go around destroying people's property. I mean, I don't like a lot of things that people do, but you can't just decide to be like, oh, I'm gonna go over here and rip this down and steal it. But because, all right, this might things I've said before probably have as well.
Oh, confession time.
Yeah, you are. Yeah, I'm gonna be like, well, 8 years ago. No, they're trying to battle this stereotype, like, of painting everybody of black descent as thieves or thugs or whatever. But yet here these guys are, they're going around and stealing from people's property. So you're only going to reinforce that and give these idiots the ammunition they want to be like, oh, see, they're stealing. Look, this is how they act.
But there have been plenty of people within the black community for years that have made that argument, that have said, if you go and do this, you're doing exactly what they expect you to do. So stop doing it, and it never works out well. They always try to justify it, their reason for doing it.
I think on some level, that's what the people on the opposite side want. They want them to go and do this so that they have something as proof for their idiotic behavior. And the thing that bothers me the most is, it's something I've noticed just even discussing things with friends sometimes, where somebody of a different race does something criminal, and then that leads to a blanket generalization about everybody of that race. But yet they know and hate so many people that happen to be white, but yet nobody's ever like, well, look at what those white people do. I mean, except for Tumblr people, but they don't really count as people, so.
God forbid if you're cis white.
I just think that when you go to the point of generalizing everybody of one group, no matter what side you're coming from, you end up becoming like the person that you're trying to speak out against. Like, individuals have to be held accountable for their own actions, and just the individual alone. I kind of understand where people are coming from of other races when they kind of say that something like, I'm not saying I agree with it, but I sort of understand where they're coming from when they're like, well, when one of us fails, it counts against all of us, because that's the attitudes that other people take on, but that's not exactly the right thing to be doing.
Right. I mean, in the idyllic world, I mean, everyone would be judged based upon their own actions, their own merit, and all that stuff. But it's just not the case sometimes.
No, and unfortunately, I don't think that you can ever really reach things can improve, but I don't think you can ever really reach a point where everybody is going to agree with that and display that behavior, just because it's in human nature to find petty reasons to dislike each other.
But that's something nobody ever likes to hear.
No, because, it's 2015, and, well, you got to be ahead of the times. Or with the times, I should say.
It's 2015, and we don't have sitcoms where we spew semen at people anymore.
Oh, old TV show review websites. You never fail to entertain.
I actually do have somewhat of an issue related to that, because the person who actually is doing the show in question we're talking about, obviously I like a lot of his work, but for a guy who's older than me, a lot of times it feels like when it comes to his creative endeavors, he kind of goes on the childish end to me. Like, this is a thing that people go back and forth on all the time, especially when it comes to YouTube content creators, and they say, or any type of internet content creator, they'll make something, and then fans will like their stuff, and then they'll be demanding, or they'll be disappointed because they're not doing the same thing over and over, and they say, it's my channel, I do what they want. And right. I agree with those people all the way. But a lot of times I don't like the attitude that everybody takes with it, or I don't like the attitude that this particular person does. So for just the history, as far as I knew, he started off doing like live journals and stuff, and I've read it, and to be fair, I didn't really like that iteration of his work. And then he started doing stuff on YouTube, and people really liked it. I mean, he stopped doing it 5 years ago, and people are still trying to get him to bring back all the stuff that he does. And so the context of that is he started that. It was like a parody review series, and he one day he uploaded an episode, and I think a day or two later he just shut down his channel completely, took everything down, never explained, still hasn't really explained to this day why he left.
Mhm.
And I could get an understanding of why it apparently had something to do with like YouTube fans and how their actions are, or he didn't really like the. It was like our favorite racist frog or Muppet, where it's like, oh, I'm getting too popular, so I need to shut down my channel and disappear and then show up again randomly. And that's more or less what happened with this guy. And then he started uploading that, but he started doing some other things that it didn't get nearly as much views as his earlier stuff did.
Sure.
But he was still building up loyal fans, and he would even go and do let's plays and stuff, and he really enjoyed a lot of the conversations that came out of his work. He said, people were having lots of interesting conversations, and then something happened in his personal life, and he pretty much stopped doing that, and then he went to focus more on his website, which at that point he rebuilt a new website and started doing that, and then he started focusing on this 80s sitcom that he reviews every week, and then he does other stuff, and to me, I don't really like a lot of it because it gets pretentious for me. I mean, the guy is an English major, so I expect a lot of gushing and jerking off uh, over the only kind of literature anybody ever likes, which is usually the same type of people like Oscar Wilde and James Joyce, basically British authors and maybe classic American authors, but never anything else, never any other kind of literature. Whenever people study literature, none of those guys ever talk about that. So it's usually the same pretentious stuff, or it'll be like, hey, I watched Breaking Bad, and like making it something bigger than what it would come off to me. It's like, this is a show about a guy selling drugs or a former teacher selling drugs. Like that, I don't see the Shakespearean lyrical epic of a man trying to do like that's. In my opinion, there are way too many shows out there nowadays where it's like, oh, here's somebody doing something wrong and illegal, and let's make a show about it. And everybody loves and flocks to these shows because it's like, oh, somebody's doing something wrong. And so that's what his thing is now. But he started a tradition where he would do like a Christmas stream, and he didn't, and he usually uploads it right after. Well, he didn't for last year's, and so he had just uploaded it a couple of weeks ago. And I can't remember what the comment somebody made is, but he made a comment, and he's like, and it was basically like, go, come back and do your other work. And then that's when he just goes off, and he's like, this is exactly why I'm glad I'm not on YouTube anymore, and I'm glad I left, and I just focus on this now and all that. And it's like, okay, if you really have that much of a problem with people, you don't have to do it this way. Like, he's the type of person that's like, well, if I'm the artist, then it's whatever I do, and however I want to express myself, that's how I want to express myself. If you're going to get an attitude every time you express yourself, then you don't want to express yourself that way, so just don't do it. Like, well, it's a service to my friends, then take the comment section off or do something, but stop doing all this complaining about, oh, this is exactly what I don't like about YouTube, because if that's not what you like, then don't do it. Nobody's forcing you to come back. People want you to come back, but that doesn't mean you have to. You never even really said that you were going to leave. You're just like, well, I'm going to take a break, and everybody was just like, okay, and then you just took a very long break, and you really haven't stopped taking a break ever since then.
Yeah, I mean, I could kind of see both sides of that situation, because sometimes it does seem like viewers get this sense of entitlement over the control of what you post. I haven't really encountered it too much because, I don't know, I'm not super popular or anything, but I've seen it in other places where someone will post a video that's out of the norm, and they're like, what is this shit? And go back to your old stuff and all that. And it's kind of obnoxious, but I don't think it's anything to go crazy about. I mean, honestly, at the end of the day, it's a comment on a screen. If you don't like it, you can delete it, you can ignore it, you could just continue doing what you want to do if that's what you believe.
Well, some people take things to heart, and it's hard to explain some people's point of view.
That's more or less the kind of feeling I get from this guy. Is he takes everything to heart, but
Very
he's
personal.
not. But he's not like the other type of people that would take everything personally. Like there are some things that I'm actually surprised he doesn't respond to that most other people on YouTube would respond the stereotypical way that they always respond to things like that. But he doesn't acknowledge it as almost if he's like just trying to be respectful of everybody and say, this isn't uh, this isn't something to trivialize. Not everybody feels the same way, and so be you. I might think it's funny, but that doesn't mean that everybody's gonna think it's funny. But there are just times when he just goes off and he gets really too emotional about it. He's like the type of person where it's like, I feel he's that type of person, in an exaggerated way, who he creates this work that everybody loves and thinks it's great, and they say, thank you for everything you've done, and instead of him saying you're welcome, he just gets depressed and he runs off and he says, I'm never going to do this again because of people like you.
Hmm.
And so that makes me wonder, like, what happens when his blog starts turning into that? Because he's like, well, I'm doing this blog because it makes me happy, and I think it's a better use of my talents. And from what I've read, like what he writes is no different than what he does on video to me. It's the same, like it can be the same sophomoric, juvenile sex jokes thrown in every time. It's like, okay, yes, it's funny that there's a sitcom about an alien that eats cats, and oh yeah, pedophilia jokes they never get old. And so to me, it's like, okay, you can't either you accept that you're going to do something and people are going to do something you're not going to like, and you just deal with it and you don't take it to heart, or you don't do anything. Or because the way I feel is that what people shouldn't do is they shouldn't keep supporting a guy who just gets really temperamental like that, who just seems like he just can't control his feelings, and he always has to go and say, oh well, I didn't have a happy childhood. Well, who ever has a happy childhood?
Yeah.
Like you're not alone there. So stop saying, oh, my childhood was bad, but I'm going to make these cryptic references to why it wasn't, and go down this emotional road and then say, oh well, but I don't want to go any further than that. So what his comment section usually turns into is there might be one or two detractors, and he kind of accepts those detractors, and everybody else will just go and support what he said. And so now to finally wrap the story up, there was one comment he made where I felt like everybody was just way too much on the bandwagon of supporting him for something that I think he went way too far into that and was really going on the double standard front. And so I decided to write about it and say I thought that was stupid. And that's where this whole "it's 2015" joke, for me at least, started, because that's what somebody was saying. They're like, oh, I can't, I just laugh at these people who are like, oh well, in the 80s and 90s we weren't as politically correct. And it's like, yeah, but this is what we had in the 80s and 90s, a show where a middle-aged guy can spew, or where women were nothing but devices for spewing semen at. And it's like, have you watched today's sitcoms? Like, that's all that it is. If it's not about a guy who just wants to keep nailing a girl all the time, then it's about a girl who just wants to date or something like that. Or like, there's to say that today's television is
Somehow
somehow
advanced.
more progressive is really missing the point, because today's television isn't progressive. It's just like, oh, we need to make a show. Okay, well, we need to start checking some stuff off the list. So we need to have a gay character. So let's have the main character's son be gay. Okay, that counts for that. Then let's have a woman be a prominent character. Okay, we got that. And then let's have some minorities in. Okay, and then let's make it a grim, dark drama. Okay, that works. And then let's make it where, the person is not. Let's make it where the person is doing something wrong, and let's make it seem deep because he's struggling, or let's make it like The Big Bang Theory and make it not funny.
Okay. Can you guys hear me all right?
Yes, hello.
Yeah. Hello.
If you guys hear my fan, just let me know and I'll turn it off.
Okay. Yeah, I actually have one on too, but I don't think it's interfering, so we might be all right.
Were we just talking about video games or just
We were
entertainment
talking
in general?
about TV shows today and
Yeah, I went
YouTubers and.
I went on a diatribe about people that I think are playing the hypocrisy card very well.
I think the problem with that is a lot of these people, like this SJWs and like whatever, they get their time in the light and then they try to hold on to it as much as possible. There's going to be cycles. It's going to be like, well, today we like women in metal bikinis. Tomorrow we might like women with glasses and, nerdy girls. Or it could be muscle-bound he-men. Next day it could be, skinny white guys that become popular. Trends always change, and it seems like they're trying to hold on to that one trend. Even though it like goes past its profitability, and then they go, how dare you not like this?
What was that game? Sunset?
Oh God! I mean, I think they would have sold more if they just sold it for $10.
Yeah, I think the price was really high for what it was. I mean, come on, you're going around cleaning up. It's not that exciting, and for people that like a story-based thing like that, it just seems like a lower price would be more fair for the content.
And I think they're getting upset because they got a lot of good reviews, but they didn't sell. But the thing is, like, the people that did the reviews probably got the game for free.
That's true too.
It's like you can have the best reviews in the world, but if a game's gonna be like $200 or something, it could be the best game in the world. I'm still not gonna buy it.
I mean, the people that are reviewing it are also the people that are trying to push this specific, like, oh, these are the type of games we like now narrative. So
Yeah, they ejaculate in unison over the types of video games that they want.
plus, meanwhile, it's stuff that it's not really offering anything new. I mean, let's think about Depression Quest for a sec here. Even if we want to consider it a game, okay? We'll call it a game just for this instance. That's nothing new. That's like point-and-click adventures that have been around since, what, the 80s?
Or the paper equivalent of Choose Your Own Adventure novel.
Oh,
Yeah,
I
exactly.
love those books.
I like those too.
Yeah, there was a Goosebumps book that I must have read like 50 times.
Did you ever just like?
Adventure.
I think this was something on The
Terrifying.
Simpsons. They did this joke, obviously, because Simpsons has done everything. But you kind of hold the page you're at, and then you go ahead to the one you want, the choice you want to go to, and you're like, you die, and they're like, no, I didn't close the book. It's okay, I can go back.
I didn't fully commit.
Yeah, exactly.
I would always keep the both pages open so I could see which page where I die and say, oh, didn't choose that one. Nice try,
Those-
Goosebumps. Nice try.
That's like Game Genie for kids before Nintendo.
Save state.
Yeah.
Yeah, the
Smart
novel,
save state.
the literature equivalent of save stating.
Well, I remember I remember reading through I forget the name of the book, but it was a Goosebumps book, and I remember reading through it and like memorizing the like I read through it so many times I memorized the parts that I wanted to go through again. So I'd go back to those pages and be like, I wonder what would happen if I did take a left, or I wonder what would happen if I did eat the lasagna.
Well, taking a left means you're going in the direction of progress, so...
Oh, nice.
I did that political compass test. Have you guys ever done that?
I can't say that I have.
I've heard of it, but I found it to be too self-indulgent for me to actually try to do it.
Well, I have a hard time figuring out what political lining I'm in because I have progressive views and I have conservative views. I'm pro Second Amendment. I don't think the government should have any guns that we don't. On more of like a not necessarily government, but cops. I don't think cops should have any guns that we don't have. But I'm also for abortion or pro-choice. So I don't know.
That's the milder way of putting it is pro-choice.
Well, I'm not pro-choice, but I am anti-life.
Does that mean you're undead? I have a terrible fear of the undead.
Yeah, there was a running joke back when I was a teenager about me being undead. Or me basically being like Orin from Final Fantasy X, where I was supposed to be dead, but I didn't.
You just didn't cross over.
Yeah, it just hasn't happened yet.
I'll get to it when I'm finished drinking this bottle of booze.
I'm just having an energy drink.
I'm not sure you had an energy drink in that big jug.
Well, I had a Galaxy Note 3 that I don't really use anymore, and I sold it at one of those Eco ATMs. Got $70 for it. It's nice.
Oh, that's those things where you could just like dump off an old cell phone or something, and they pay you for it. That's weird. I don't think I've ever actually seen anybody do it before. I didn't know what kind of prices they would give.
That's just white privilege at work. Well, it's raining outside. I guess I can't go out. Oh man, how inconvenient.
It's actually supposed to have some thunderstorms here at some point.
Aren't there bears outside? Who wants to go outside anyway?
Going outside is for girls and gays.
Oh God!
Now we're really gonna get in trouble. Banned.
I mean, to be fair, my wife was the one that opened the door when it was raining, so that just shows you that men don't go outside.
You got half the equation there. I was just trying to see what else I've got here.
Well, I know you guys are talking about video games. I'm currently playing Duck Game.
I thought you were gonna say DuckTales, and I was like, man, I should go. Can't wait till I get home. I think about buying some DuckTales.
DuckTales!
There was a DuckTales game I play on the PC that I have not found, and for whatever reason, I love that. If I played now, it'd probably suck, and I think it's just nostalgia. But there was some DuckTales game I played.
They redid an old one.
Yeah, they redid the NES one for and they released it on like Steam and Wii U.
Yeah, apparently I was the only one that liked the original, so I married a family of communists because they didn't think the NES version was good. Like, oh, I like this remake better, and it was like the NES one was good, and they're like, no, it wasn't good. I can assure you, it was a good game.
I mean,
It was a good game. It was one of those few games with a marketable name that actually had some thought and innovation put into it.
Wasn't the whole point of making a remake because it was a good game and they wanted people to, re-experience that?
Yeah, I don't think they've ever actually remade a game that was bad and made it good.
Well, that's true, but they did release Super Noah's Ark 3D for Steam.
Okay, but
Good God.
that was just a that doesn't even count. That was just a Wolfenstein 3D skin.
Well, what about Daikatana? That's on Steam now.
I don't think I've ever played that.
Since I think I was just about to get into high school when that game came out, and learning Japanese was a novelty, I guess, and so people would ask me what Daikatana meant, and naturally they turned it into a big dick joke. They're like, oh, my Daikatana, good one.
Does it just mean big katana?
Yeah, big knife.
Could the DuckTales game that you played could have been DuckTales: The Quest for Gold? It said it was Amiga, Apple II, Commodore 64, and DOS.
Yeah, I think it was. DuckTales: The Quest for Gold.
Oh, got to get a ROM or whatever you.
You mean an officially licensed version?
Yes.
Well, you have the original, right? You just don't have a way to play on it, right? You don't have the system.
Legitimate software backup, I swear.
Yes, I just don't have DOS. So yeah, that's that's how we get around that mild concern there.
I've got to stop admitting to ROMs on stream.
Yeah, you
Well,
have to do
I
the.
think isn't there like a statute of limitations too, for the most part?
For
Like,
those,
like after
well,
so long, isn't it like doesn't matter anymore because the trademarks expired?
yeah, but the time when those are going to expire is so far away that it would still technically count, I guess, unless there was nobody who could actually claim the intellectual property. So if there are like some series out there where the developer or publisher, whoever had the rights, went out of business and nobody ever picked it up, then it would be nobody would actually be able to enforce it because it's not one of those types of infractions where somebody can, or like a police officer can go and say, well, that's copyrighted material. It's actually the owner who has to say.
Well, the copyright's a civil suit, I believe, right? It's not like the feds can.
Probably not.
The,
Probably
Yeah,
not
sorry.
for that. There are some things that they can go and enforce, but as I remember on DVDs, because they still use the same FBI warning they've been using since 1973.
But I think those laws are about selling and like trying to make a profit from it. Because I know when I was in Afghanistan, we were allowed to get pirated stuff, just as long as like we don't attempt to sell it, because there's the laws there were different from ours.
Does that fall under don't ask, don't tell? I don't.
I was going to say, I actually have a funny story about that. So
I don't know.
before I was disrespectful, one of the two three members in the family of disrespect actually got deployed a few times to Afghanistan, and she would go and she would ask my wife like what animes and stuff she would want or what shows she'd want to watch, and then she'd tell her, and she'd come back, and then she'd go visit her, and she'd come back with all these DVDs. At the time, we didn't realize that they were bootleg, so we'd go and play them in. And well, I mean, even if you just look at the front cover, it's like, okay, somebody got one of those CD label makers from Best Buy and just took the adhesive off and stuck it on a CDR and then put it in there, and then it would have the stretch, like all the resolution would be stretched out, and so it wouldn't even be 4:3 or 16:9 or anything like that. It's just, and then it started right away, so there was no menu or anything like that. It's just, the disc started right back up. So yes, they had a lot of pirated material.
I think it'd be even more funny if it was literally like knockoff anime from Afghanistan, and they had their own animation studio and their own voice actors and stuff.
I don't
Like
even want to
Attack
know what
on
that
Titan
looks
would be like Attack on Titan would be like Attack on Taliban or something like that.
So it would be like the Malaysian dub of Dragon Ball Z.
Yeah,
I am the Saya people.
Mr. Green or whatever.
And Gohan. They couldn't decide whether Gohan's name was Goku or Gohin.
I have a question about anime. Is it really that taboo to prefer dubs over subs?
In certain communities.
Yeah, there are certain people with their nose stuck up. So if only we had a soundboard, we could do the rant alert or diatribe alert. So earlier in the stream, I mentioned that, or I guess recently I mentioned that learning Japanese was a novelty. But there was a site that was kind of small, but now it's a little bit more popular. And that guy had a blog entry on importing games from Japan, which that was something in all the years I've been to his site, that was the first time I saw it. So it's a recent blog entry, like 2 years old, and he made these little snide remarks about like how apparently it's only Americans that have a problem with getting subbed games, and so he was all like, yeah, so those stupid Americans are going and complaining all the time about subbed material, so they're probably not going to do this. And that's what I don't like about it. It's like, shut up, you live here, what are you talking about?
Well,
One of
my
those
thing,
one of those people that never wants to say anything bad because he lived in Japan, but he never wants to say anything bad about the Japanese experience. Like, oh, I'm a Korean guy living in Japan, so they don't like me. But I'm not going to talk about that. But I have no problem talking about these stupid Americans. Like, what is this, game facts?
well, my thing is like if you don't like the way dubs are, if you think subs are better, wouldn't you like just getting subs make dubs worse then? When it defeat the point?
Well,
Aw,
yeah,
man.
from a business perspective, it would because then they can say, well, we don't have to put much effort into it because people
Well, I mean,
prefer subs.
from a consumer perspective, you just go, well, I only listen to subs, or I only watch subs. I mean, because dubs suck. Wouldn't you just wouldn't you just make it a self-fulfilling prophecy then? Because if you don't watch dubs because dubs suck, they're going to continue to suck because they're not going to put assets to make them better.
Well,
Yeah, they're
I
not
always-
going to make as much of a profit, so they're not going to
Yeah.
hire better voice actors.
Yeah, that's my point.
I've always been in the mindset that once I've heard a character's voice, that is what it is. I mean, I heard Goku's American voice, and then I heard Japanese Goku voice, and I'm like, yeah, nope, American voice.
Well,
But-
the Japanese voice is a girl, right?
Yeah.
It is. It's like an old woman.
So, it's part of the trans community then.
But yeah, well, Japan has like a weird thing where if a character has a certain like voice actor, they won't change the voice actor.
Well,
Yes,
yeah,
sir.
what it was is, Dragon Ball Goku starts off as a kid, and they're like, well, we want him to grow into an adult, but we want him to keep his childlike sense of curiosity and all that. So, like, oh, we'll express that by leaving his voice the same. Which I got to admit, as much as I like that show, I like the Japanese version, but I kind of like the dub version too.
Well, I think, like I've recently started watching Bleach, and
Well,
with
that's
the
a lot.
action, oh god, yeah, it's like 700 episodes I think so far.
Wow.
But with the action animes, I can't watch the subs because multitasking is really hard when you're trying to read and watch people kick ass. So it's just hard for me. If it's just like a regular anime, I don't really see a problem with it. But for action, I'm like, okay, well, all the words are on the bottom, and all the actions above that. So I have to do two things at once.
Damn those anime storytellers for having full-on conversations while they're shooting guns across the universe and slashing each other up to pieces with swords. And who does that? They got to do it the Dragon Ball route where they spend the whole episode staring each other down and talking shit, and then after that they fight.
Well, they do one punch and then the episode.
I still like the Team 4-star Dragon Ball Z abridged episodes.
Oh, those are funny.
Yeah, I haven't kept up with it in a long time. I think I made it to about where they met Frieza, and then I kind of trailed off, so I'd have to go back and catch up.
I fell off in somewhere in the Cell Saga. If something turns into like Meme City, then I usually just stop. And that's kind of where it was. It was like, okay, we get it. The internet, good one, guys. But I have a friend that goes and keeps me updated all the time, so I know all about the abortion jokes.
Where does that fit in exactly?
When they were going to kill Cell, or when they found the lab.
Oh, right. He's the little fetus kind of thing. Yeah.
But
I was gonna say, I wonder if they're deemed as too problematic to watch for Tumblr.
Maybe.
Have you seen the Super Saiyan God Super Saiyan yet?
Yes, and the design is kind of cool, but the name for it is just absolutely ridiculous.
Are
They
you
they
talking
could
about
have come
are you
the
talking
the
about the
blue haired
actual?
one.
Oh,
They could have come up with something much better than that because the name is literally Super Saiyan God Super Saiyan. SSGSS, really?
Couldn't Super Saiyan be in there just once?
It should be.
like Super Saiyan of Super Saiyan Namek God Super Saiyan
Is that
3,
what happens when they fuse?
maybe. But I don't think that. I guess they've never done that fusion before. But didn't one of those Budokai games do that?
I believe so.
Or it was like, oh, watch Piccolo and Krillin fuse.
So what if? Although I think the Piccolo and Krillin thing was taken from a drawing by Toriyama that they had in some magazine.
And they're just like, oh, let's go with it.
Yeah, they're like, oh, let's make this a thing because somebody drew it once. I wonder if-
Sounds like the Igarashi way of doing it. I don't know if you guys are familiar, but he's the guy who did Castlevania Symphony of the Night, or one of the two, actually.
Yeah, I have a weird opinion of him. Sometimes I agree absolutely with what he says, and sometimes I'm like, okay, you have no idea what you're talking about. Like, have you and I even played the same series before? But actually, that was a joke that I probably couldn't make until this morning. But I saw like a place called like Iga the Full Kitchen or something, because that's what he actually calls himself. He calls himself Iga. I was like, this isn't Ark the Lad.
Are you guys? What do you guys think about the all-female Ghostbusters?
I just feel like they're trying to, they're trying to do more of that pandering stuff, and it doesn't really make sense. Like, it could be totally good. I don't even care, but it's
I think the jury's still out for the pandering.
It seems like I guess I just feel like that because of the timing and with all the other complaints I've seen about, like, oh, we need more women in prominent roles and all the gender bending with like the Thor thing, and yeah, I don't know. It just seems weird, and it also seems unnecessary because, like, why not? First of all, why does it have to be like an alternate reality thing that replaces the Ghostbusters? Like, why can't it be they are related to them?
I thought that's what it was, because one of them actually looked like Egon. I thought that's what they were going with. Well, I thought they were going with, like, it was the same universe.
Okay, well, maybe if they're doing that, that could be a little bit more interesting, like passing on the torch rather than like, oh, look, it's the Ghostbusters universe, but not as you knew it.
Well, the way I heard about it, I could be wrong, was like the synopsis is like the Ghostbusters like became a service, like the police or the fire department. That's why I heard it, and I heard that they're talking about having more movies, not just these two, but actually having more movies with just other people.
Okay.
Just because they could have it in like other cities and stuff. But I could be wrong. I've heard that a couple months ago when they first.
Oh, so like Ghostbusters is now a thing where it's like it's not just the city where they originally had it, but they've got it everywhere. Wasn't it New York?
The original was New York for sure.
Yeah. Okay, that's what I thought.
Well, somewhere around there.
Yeah, it was New York. You can tell by the.
Well, plus the Statue of Liberty thing. Yeah, it's been like ages since I've seen either of those movies.
No, for some reason I was thinking Boston at first. Because they're like,
well,
I remember seeing them. It's near a building.
Well, Lady Liberty is clearly a Yankees fan, so she wanted to stomp Boston out.
I guess I don't know enough about Boston, New York politics.
I don't even watch. I don't
It's pretty
even.
much every other city rivalry. Like
Yeah.
Dallas and Houston have one. San Antonio and Austin have a silly one. Maybe
That,
Detroit and Chicago, and I think Miami and Tampa, maybe.
I don't
But
even watch baseball, and I know about it. So
well, I
But
mean, there's
California just has rivalries in state, like A's and Giants, Raiders and 49ers.
yeah, and then from everything else, it's like a San Francisco or Northern California, Southern California thing. Like I had a roommate who would try to justify to me why he didn't like people from Northern California, and he said
I
it was
don't.
because he said that they would do they would like fart on doorknobs or something.
Fart on doorknobs.
Yeah, that
okay.
was his reasoning. And I said, well, I guess that's a valid reason. I wouldn't want somebody to go in my house and like all of a sudden I've got to take out the Lysol wipes on my doorknobs.
Well, I think the real question here is, did they do it bare bottom? I mean, that's
Well, unless you're taking somebody from Oakland home on a date, uh, we can assume they were not.
I've never heard that before, though.
yeah. I can't
Well,
say I've ever heard
when
of
they
that
were
behavior.
they were talking about people from Oakland specifically though, because the understanding, at least in that context, is that there are not black people that live in San Francisco. And when I say that, I don't mean there's literally 0%. I mean compared to Oakland, there's not very many. So when they say that, they're talking about people from Oakland because the percentage of black people they know in Oakland is much higher than San Francisco. Although I would be afraid to go to San Francisco and see just the social justice nature of any of the citizens there. That's like my big reason for not wanting to go there. I will have to at some point, but uh, I fear what that's going to be like.
Well, Northern California is nice to visit, but it seems like it's a place for old people and rich people.
And yeah, rich libertarians to be exact. Because all those startup people in the Bay Area, their political ideologies do not match the social justice nature of a lot of people in San Francisco. They're
Oh yeah.
more of the I don't want I everything is all about capitalism, which makes it very funny because I feel that they self implode or they implode all the time because they don't know how to deal with the fact that they are so capitalist driven, but they don't like that.
Well, it's like actually a lot of people in Northern California are pretty redneck.
Well, are you talking
I
about
wouldn't
like
say,
are you talking
well,
about from like Napa Valley north or
like northern of Napa Valley.
like
Like a
wherever
lot, like
working designs used to be?
um,
Reading, they're in Reading.
yeah, Reading.
Well, what a coincidence! Reading having rednecks.
But
Who would have
Well, I was talking to this girl that's she's a veterinarian for horses, way up north. I forget exactly where, but way up north. So it seems like the more north you go, the more like rednecky kind. I don't know.
Until you get to like Portland, then it goes back down, and then you go in Seattle, and you've got a lot of pompadour hairstyles and skinny
Seattle's
jeans.
Seattle's kind of got the the whole hipster thing going for it. I mean, everyone over there kind of has to have their own look, otherwise they're considered blasé.
Oakland's kind of like that now. I avoid girls in OkCupid from Oakland because all of them are just seem batshit crazy. If they're white, they are crazy.
Well, if they're from Oakland, they're crazy.
I don't know. I think black people from Oakland have a bad rep because I really think the black people in Oakland have a bad rep because they have to deal with the white people from Oakland.
Well, back
'Cause-
that was back before they lived in Oakland. That's when they would be in like Emeryville or something, and they were just waiting. Because
That's
I
where you
actually I have
Well,
somebody that I used to went to high school with, and he actually lives in Oakland, and I can assure you that uh, he, the way he treated me, lets me know plenty that he doesn't know how to be respectful around people that don't look like him. But he lives there now.
Well, it's just like if you go to like just look at these profiles of women on OkCupid. It's like they look like punk hipsters. Like they're hipsters that took up the punk facade.
So
They have
there, that's actually what it's like in Brooklyn. That's how a lot of those girls are. But most of those girls are lesbians, so you don't have to look at their OkCupid profile. I mean, unless you're transgender or something, then
it seems like most of these wish they were.
yeah, I guess I can see that.
But yeah, I've made a point that I have never tried anybody's homebrewed beer ever again. Never.
Oh, was this the thing where they put like 6 pounds of sugar in it or something?
Oh God, yeah. Man, that's just why. The only reason why beer companies use sugar is because they're too cheap to buy hops.
That reminds me. I don't know if anybody's actually seen House Party before, but when they wanted somebody, or they were out of Kool-Aid, so they wanted somebody to make it, and all you see when they finally make the Kool-Aid is they just open a big bag of sugar and they're just pouring it in. They're just pouring it in there, and then one of the characters walks by and they're like, "How can y'all drink that?" And they're like, "Girl, that's good."
It's been so long since I've seen
non-Newtonian
it.
fluid now.
So every time I think about liquor with that's very sweet, I'm gonna think about somebody making red Kool-Aid. And yes, it was red Kool-Aid, not tropical punch or cherry. It was red Kool-Aid with all that sugar in it and just spiking it. Cause
Well, when I was in Afghanistan, we worked with Jordanians, and their big thing was tea. They love tea, and they'll take Lipton hot tea. I think it was actually iced tea, but they'd make it hot, and they would add like 50% water to 50% sugar,
Wow.
like to all their tea, and it was just disgusting.
Were they awake 24 hours a day?
They were usually asleep.
Oh, that's the diabetes coma, I guess.
Yeah, I guess so.
where's Wilford Brimley? If you got diabetes, you call that number and you call it right now.
Rock. Got diabetes.
I've only ever seen him in one movie. It was some movie with Jean-Claude Van Damme. So I was in New Orleans, and the only reason I knew that is because I was like, oh, I remember when I was living over there.
That's a really interesting combination of actors.
There was somebody else too, but I can't remember what her name was. But I know it was Jean-Claude Van Damme, Wilford Brimley, and then some other faces I recognize, and then New Orleans, because I was like, yeah, I can smell it from my television set. For those of you that don't know, if you go to New Orleans, particularly in the French Quarter, especially at night, you can step on and smell the booze, and your shoes will stick to the street.
You just kind of keep walking and your shoes are left behind on the sidewalk.
Pretty much. And then somebody steals it because, I mean, it is New Orleans after all.
The movie was, I think it was Hard Target.
I think you're confused because your feet stick to the ground because they pissed there.
Well, that too. So it's the combination of that, and then it's like daiquiris, and then Patron and 151. I mean, even the color of the road, it's like a grayish pink. We walked there like early one morning, well, early, which is 8 o'clock, and you could still smell it a little bit. It wasn't as bad before, but it's like it's just people just dumping it all over the place, and then they pee all over the place, and then like whenever they dump their trash out at the bars, I mean, they don't bother putting it in a trash can or anything. Oh, well, let's just dump it out in the front, and so they don't tie up the trash bags, so it just spills over. So you got trash on it too.
Well, it's like in San Francisco, if you drop anything, you usually won't pick it up. Just because there's so many homeless people there, odds are There's just pissed right where it dropped.
Well, every time I said anything fell on the floor in New Orleans, I said it fell into the abyss, so don't even bother picking it up. Because somebody was like, oh, I dropped my shoes. Well, don't pick it up. It's too late now. Get some new shoes.
Just let it go.
Let it go.
I'm glad my daughter wasn't here to hear that.
Oh no.
She doesn't like them. She doesn't care for the movie, but she likes that song. And
Well,
in fact, we went to Disney World and she got a dress and she got a wand.
Uh-oh. That's playing into gender roles.
Well, she also she told my son that those toys were not for boys; they were for girls.
Internalizing the misogyny now.
There you go. And he was like, I don't care. So we weren't going to go to Amazon and buy like $5 for him. Although he has a Mickey Mouse doll, or a Mickey Mouse action figure, as I prefer to call it.
Sounds more
Doll,
hardcore that
action
way.
Figure, tomato.
And they're like, what would Mickey have an action figure like for? Well, he's been in some action games.
He was in South Park and he beat the crap out of the Jonas Brothers.
Yeah, he was in Castle of Illusion. That was he sat on people and threw apples
Mickey
at
Mouse's
them.
Funhouse.
There you go. He was in Kingdom Hearts, but that doesn't count. And in fact, Kingdom Hearts would be better if you got to play as him, because he is like, I guess, a master Keyblade wielder. So imagine what that's like, having Mickey with a sword with all of these, like doing all these special moves. Now that's a Mickey Mouse action figure right there. Like, watch Mickey destroy Organization 13 because they suck.
I don't know anything about Kingdom Hearts other than the fact that apparently Cloud and Sephiroth make an appearance.
And make out.
You know,
Yeah,
that wouldn't surprise me.
They're in both games. They're in the first and the second one, and that's about all I know, because I don't play the game, but my wife likes it. They're like, it's
Kingdom
good.
Hearts.
Yeah, and I'm like, yeah, it would be good without like Sora and Riku and Kairi. It would basically.
I liked it.
It'd be good with the Disney characters in it, and it's like, hey, well, except for Goofy and Donald always not doing what they're supposed to do. That if they can fix the AI on that, that would be great. But if they had more Disney characters that you could actually play as, because they hype up some of the Disney characters to make them seem like they're really good, but you never get to play as them. And so if you actually got to play as them, instead of like, hey, let's have Squall jerk himself off about his sword and call himself Leon and have long hair. Like, if they took that part out and replaced it with, like, I don't know, the Triton electrocuting everybody, that would be the best game ever.
I never understood why they did that, though. It's like for a dumb reason, too. It's like, everybody in my world died, so I changed my name. What? Really?
Yeah, I didn't get his reasoning for that either. But then, like, who else? They had Eris in there, and I don't remember what she was really doing. And Yuffie
She was alive
there.
somehow?
Yeah, she was alive, and Sephiroth was there in his regular form, but he had one wing. So he was like half his final form, but he wasn't nude, and he didn't have like half of his body gone. And instead of him being like, oh man, I hate everybody, he's like, oh, I'm going to hang out at the arena and be the final boss in the arena.
Because, you know, that's what Sephiroth would do. He'd hang out in an arena waiting for someone to challenge him just to beat them up
He was
or
probably
lose.
He was probably waiting for his mom to pick him up.
Yeah, well, Cloud's in that one too, so they'd just be sitting back in the arena like, Sephiroth, what are you doing? Well, you know, I'm just waiting for my mom to show up. Unless you're gonna go pull her out right now, I don't think she's gonna pick you up anytime soon. And that's another thing too, like Cloud's Buster Sword. It's like they they just put duct tape over it or something. Because you actually have to fight him before you fight Sephiroth. He's like, I have to make sure you're strong enough to defeat him, and he has a bunch of duct tape on his sword, and he does all these weird attacks, and then you beat him, and he's like, oh, well, I guess you can fight Sephiroth now.
I bet it. It's kind of funny because Why is he testing
Oh,
you?
I remember that. I just didn't want to bring up the fact that Cloud had another wing, the other wing to Sephiroth. So
Oh
that's
God.
just fitting into the whole Cloud and Sephiroth are going to make out in one of these games, and
Well, they are
There's
doing
a
that
lot of-
remake.
yeah,
a lot of
maybe
fan
that's what they're
fiction.
going to do in the Final Fantasy VII remake. Maybe there's going to be sexual frustration between Cloud and Sephiroth, and
Well, I mean,
Well, if they do cross-dress.
if you think about the very end, after you beat the final form, they both fight each other.
and Sephiroth is naked, so
Yep, he's shirtless.
Well,
Yeah,
So
I
what you're
think
saying is Cloud isn't really fighting Sephiroth; he's fighting his own sexual urges for Sephiroth.
It's
So I-
all sexual innuendo. Well, does it when you cross-dress with Cloud? Isn't it implied that he actually has sex with the guy?
Oh, it's like the Honeybee Inn or something like that. There's some weird scene.
yeah. There's a scene where like a bunch of village people type guys show
Like-
up.
They kind of molest him or something or other, or at least it's hinted at.
Yeah, and he doesn't really say no, but he's like, "Oh, ouch, that really hurts," or something like that.
So wrong.
And
I'm
then
actually
that
kind of-
somehow restores his HP and MP.
I'm actually kind of wondering how they're going to handle scenes like that now.
Well, they claimed they were still going to keep that in, which I don't know why they had to do. Like, I don't know why people were getting upset that they should take it out, because I thought that would show it's progressive or something, because Cloud is trans or something like that, and
Right, but he's
Dressed-
not consenting. So if he's dressed as a trans person, that means he's a woman. And if he's not consenting as a woman, that means he's being raped. So you can't have that.
But he's not exactly saying no either.
That's true.
But if he was drunk, then it's a no by default.
I don't know. I mean, I think that, I think Cloud might be into guys. I mean, if you think about it, with all the company he keeps, he hangs out around mainly guys.
He idolized Zack to the point of stealing his identity.
Yeah,
Thank
I mean,
you.
how come there wasn't any how come they didn't have like LifeLock in there, or doing some advertisements or something like that? Like Zach's like, here's my social security number. Try to steal my identity now, Cloud.
And then the PHS rings.
Oh God. Hello, Zach.
Does anybody know what that actually stood for? Because I know they were kind of hinting at like,
I
it's
used
like
to.
a cell phone type device, but
I used to remember what PHS stands for, but now I don't remember. Probably like personal something system or something.
yeah, portable
Plot
hand
holes are
system.
us. Oh wait, I'm sorry, that didn't quite fit. I'm sorry.
Hey,
7 was good, I guess, for its time, but it had so many plot holes. Like, I don't even know.
yeah, I mean, to be honest, I don't think I ever actually fully grasped the story because it was very confusing.
Well, it was badly translated, so
I guess that didn't help either.
like off course.
I can almost forgive plot holes a little bit more in video games than I can in movies, just because there's so much more effort you got put into the movies themselves, or into the games themselves. But
That makes sense, because, I mean, with the game, you've got to go through level design, you got to go through programming, you got to go through all this other stuff.
But
yeah, there's
I'm-
a lot of hands that.
For a game trying to tout itself on the storyline, though, there were some parts where they really could have smoothed that out, and I think part of the problem with that, just to be quite honest, is they forgot that they were making a video game. Because when you play Final Fantasy VI, you get the impression that, oh, okay, they're trying to do a story, but this is still a video game, and they're going to provide something that reminds you it's still a game. Whereas with Final Fantasy VII, you can tell it's a video game, but they're trying to act like they don't think it's a video game, and that's kind of where things go in the wrong direction for me, because from a gameplay standpoint, it didn't feel that different from 6's gameplay.
No,
And
not really.
the problem I have is people tell me that, oh, Dragon Quest is such a stagnating series, and Final Fantasy never changes. And to me, it's like, or Final Fantasy always changes. And then I look at like the differences between 6 and 7, and I say, okay, so instead of calling them Espers, it's just called Materia now.
Yeah.
Got it. That's all the difference there.
And I mean, I guess they had the FMV, which is probably why they were pushing less for the this is a video game. It's like this is less of a video game and more of an experience.
Are we really about to have a discussion about how Final Fantasy VI is superior to Final Fantasy VII? Because I could talk about that topic all day.
we can. I mean, I'm open to this.
We can, but I was going to say that even I feel that 8 even though I don't necessarily like what they did with 8, I feel like they did try to do something different with 8. They tried a slightly different gameplay style, and while a lot of people might have complained about it, it, in my opinion, made the game more game-breaking. But the differences between 6 and 7, well, I guess I also like the ensemble cast of characters in 6, so that it was like everybody had their 15 minutes instead of it just being like, oh, well, there's this guy with spiky hair and he wants to make out with a guy with silver hair. And then there's this girl that gets stabbed in the gut and doesn't survive because she didn't play Ninja Gaiden 2 and learn from...
She didn't have a Phoenix down.
Yeah, she was too busy with that holy materia and like, oh, I have to die so I can cast holy. Well, last time I checked, you can't cast magic when you're dead. Spoilers for anybody who has not tried to cast spells before. You can't cast them when you're dead.
I didn't know you could cast when you're alive.
Well, I mean, some
It's
people.
a little bit more difficult. But it truly becomes impossible when you're dead.
Well, I mean, if you think about it, I mean, Aerith was really just like Final Fantasy VII's Leo, or General Leo. I mean, Leo was playable for a little bit of time. Not very long, not as long as Aerith was, but ended up getting jacked just as badly.
Well, she was the give this person your materia person. She was the materia person. Because all you could get, especially towards the end, you can get a lot of her weapons, and it's like 8 slots for the weapon, so you can just throw a bunch of materia on there, have her level them to at least level 3 or maybe master them, and then give them to somebody else who doesn't have a lot of stuff on there. But then there were other characters that I thought were worthless, like Tifa. Her existence is worthless to me. And like, how do you forget everything that happened in the story? Like, oh, I'm gonna let this guy that I grew up with tell this lie to everybody, and I'm gonna wait until the last minute to say, oh, none of that ever happened. Like, were you even paying attention? Were you awake? How do you go and say, oh, well, yeah, you can tell this lie about what happened 5 years ago, but oh, by the way, I never saw you.
So about that,
Spoilers.
I think that her brain was stored in her chest.
Oh, that might be true.
Or maybe,
especially if you look at the FMV sequences. Oh, God.
no, because if her brain was stored in her chest would be a lot smaller.
That's misogyny.
But then they don't even go. She clearly has a backstory, and they didn't bother to even expand in that. Like how that guy taught her, how and why he taught her martial arts. Like how did she even get to Midgar and all that? They really didn't touch on that. And then there was that part, like in the flashback scene. I'm gonna finally take a page from the snoo guy and say spoilers before I spoil it. But he goes and he has the flashback and he remembers like all the like Biggs and Wedge and Jesse, like as kids they all magically they all grew up in the same town and hung out, and they didn't want to hang out with Cloud, and so they go and run off, and he wanted to show that he was cooler than they were, and so he went and did something dumb. But
wait,
nobody else remembered. Like, how does everybody forget what happened?
That was actually those characters. I don't even think I ever made that connection.
Yeah, they never say it's those characters, but it's the exact same polygons. It's a even more squished up Biggs, Wedge, and Jesse that are running off into the mountain with Tifa, I think, or with Cloud. And he's like, "Oh, I got something cool to show you." And then everybody's like, "Oh, Cloud, you're stupid, and you need to cut your hair off and all that other stuff."
You know, there is an interesting thing there that I just realized. Tifa didn't remember, or sorry, chose not to bring up any of this stuff or remember it, but she remembered this, like, huge assortment of martial artist training.
Muscle memory.
Oh,
Well,
so you mean...
I mean, to be fair, to work with what she has and to be able to do all those martial arts techniques, I mean, you really have to have muscle memory because it's not easy going through all of that breast trying to land a punch on somebody.
Oh, God.
I mean, I'm just putting that out there. But the thing I don't understand is why she had that ridiculous cowboy hat.
Oh,
That like I don't know what they were going with when they're like, hey, let's have her in a cowboy hat. Let's make this even more suggestive.
that's a fashion statement in Nibelheim or however you pronounce it.
And then her orthopedic underwear by her piano. And I was like, oh, so I don't know how Cloud remembers that she has drawers in her room, but he can't remember everything else that happens. But he's like, oh, and then that was the other thing too. Like when he tells the story, there's no way it could end the way that he tells the story, where it's just like him holding the sword and Sephiroth holding his sword, and it's just going and flashing back to them. There's no way a story can just end like that. Like, okay, we're gonna stare at each other. Okay, we're done staring. So okay, now suddenly we're somewhere else, and no, something had to happen.
I can't help but notice you said they were both standing there holding their swords, and immediately I'm like, this is gonna
Was one
spawn
holding
some
the other sword?
This was in a fan fiction somewhere. I know it.
Fanfiction.net. Cloud's flashback. Maybe that's why he wanted to tell the story that way. Maybe he couldn't figure out. He wanted to experience what he thought Zack was experiencing.
And instead of blood, it was Astroglide.
Oh no.
Is that what penetrated him? That's why the sword went right through?
Yeah.
Is that why he could survive when he stuck the katana through him?
Yo.
When he thrusted his katana into him?
From the back.
Oh God, mental visuals. Visuals.
And then Cloud ended up covered in the live stream, which is all kinds of disturbing if you really think about it.
Well, no, Sephiroth was covered in the live stream too. Well, he fell into the live stream.
Well, Cloud was stuck in Mako, which is basically the live stream or in like liquid form. So basically, he was soaking in the souls of a bunch of dead people.
Yeah, so Cloud was in the frozen pop, and then Sephiroth was in the real life thing. He was in the jar from the fertility clinic, while Cloud was in the frozen pop from the fertility clinic. But then that doesn't explain how Sephiroth fell into the live stream, and then suddenly he grew like 8,000 times bigger into the northern area, and suddenly he's missing half of his body, and he has some wings now, and then he has his ponytail pulled back. I mean, was he in prison or something? Did he go upstate to San Quentin or something for a couple of years?
He came out with the teardrop tattoo.
Nick! There are many things. There's many things I would think to do when I was 2 years old, but putting my head in the toilet's not one of those things.
Oh no.
I don't know about you guys, but I'm just not that fascinated by toilets.
How does it work?
For somebody that doesn't like to use it.
No, that's one of those things where I guess it's like you find all the uses except the one that it's intended for.
Yeah,
I
he
like
didn't.
the movie Birdemic when they're using a hanger to fend off angry birds.
Well, Birdemic did absolutely nothing right, so
It did one thing right. It went out to DVD.
Oh my god, this game
Yeah,
is
and with the MS Paint DVD cover. And did anybody did they even have reviews for it? I think it just said like Birdemic, and it had these random pictures in the background, and it looked like it was composed like they designed it in MS Paint or something. Yeah, that's what it looks like. Yeah, it's a picture. Yeah, it really looks like it was done in MS Paint.
Kind of like the antlion from Final Fantasy IV.
You know, the antlion sprite and the mom bomb, those are like two enemies that almost don't look like they belong in the game compared to all the other ones.
This is true. I mean, the antlion. To a lesser extent, the mom bomb, yes, but the antlion just out of right field, just nowhere. Just here it is, fight it.
Well, that of course I always chalk that up to, okay, we're at the end of a dungeon, so that means we have to fight something. Like, they magically mentioned in passing in one conversation that there might be an antlion that was there, but he was peaceful, so they got you thinking, oh, well, he's peaceful, doesn't matter. And then you go there, oh, he's not peaceful, something's wrong. Or it might be she, because I think you're disturbing its nest or something.
Yeah, probably. There's no gender signifier, though, unfortunately. She's not wearing a bow tie or something.
Maybe
Yeah.
antlion identifies as gender fluid.
Today, she feels like a male antlion, but tomorrow, nobody knows.
Well, they'll never know because it's dead now, so...
The whole now that was mentioned, the whole gender fluid thing really confuses me.
Well, isn't gender fluid like sperm or something?
Well, that's what it sounds like. But the way they use it is like, oh, some days I feel like a boy and some days I feel like a girl. But I thought that you don't have to do certain things to be a boy and you don't have to do certain things to be a girl. So how is this a legitimate way of figuring out what your actual gender is? Like, why does it have to change? Why can't you just be a guy that likes to collect Princess Peach amiibos or something like that?
Hey, what's wrong with collecting Princess Peach amiibos?
Well, that's what I'm saying. Why does it have to make you a girl to do that, you know?
Yeah,
Like,
some people like Princess Peach, or some people like Chun-Li or something like that. And I don't know who would like Chun-Li, but
Well, I'm just saying, Princess Peach, when she's not being kidnapped, she's badass. I mean, she flies. She friggin' has that butt that explodes when she hits people with it.
there's an exploding butt?
Yeah, in Super Smash Brothers, when she hurls her butt at you, there's something down there that explodes.
It must be a ba-bomb.
maybe that's where they come from. It's kind of like in Yoshi's Island, where Yoshi just spits eggs out. Well, not spits them out. I don't know how he really gets them out.
You know, I was just watching a video not too recently, or yeah, actually quite recently, where they were describing how horrible Yoshi is as a species, in the sense that he consumes other things living and then turns them into poo or eggs. And then
I
he
do that
uses
too.
the eggs as ammunition.
That is true.
I turn living things into poo.
Well, yeah, but for a Nintendo game, for a kid's game, that's...
Well, plus you also have the way Mario treats Yoshi. He punches him in the back of the head to get him to eat stuff.
rides him around, jumps off him when there's a pit.
Yeah, he's
Even as a baby, he has to go and save him, and he can't go and walk for himself. And they never change Mario's diaper in Yoshi's Island, so I have to imagine it has to be pretty full at some point.
I guess that's where all the resentment comes from. So Mario's just like, well, I'm in charge now. All that diaper rash you're gonna pay.
Oh man, I'm excited for this Fallout 4 coming out.
I still need to play 3, but my internet has been working really weird the past couple of days, so I'm not sure if I can even manage a video game stream.
I'm just waiting for Fallout Tic Tacs.
Just do a Let's Play. Fallout Tic Tacs? Like the
Yeah.
Mentos? Mentax?
Yeah, there's back when something awful was relevant, so 20 years ago. They occasionally did something called Fake Games, or their Photoshop Friday. They did Fake Games, and so instead of Fallout Tactics, it was Fallout Tic Tacs, and so I had an alien holding a can of Tic Tacs, and then my friend's favorite was one called Janitor Jamboree for the Sega Saturn, and it had like a little like an ad bubble that said like now compatible with the Konami Power Mop. And then they had Captain Coat Hanger and Final Fantasy Island.
Final Fantasy Island?
Yeah.
I found the NCR Fallout Tic Tacs.
All right, somebody has to link it.
Oh, is this... Let me see here.
iFunny. That reminds me of iMockery, which in turn reminds me of Cool as Ice.
You know, speaking of things we're looking forward to, I'm actually very much looking forward to Ash versus the Evil Dead.
Oh, yes.
I saw Army of Darkness when I was way younger, and I barely remember it, to be honest.
I think Evil Dead was one of my favorite horror movies.
It's been a while since I've seen them. I don't like horror movies, so.
Oh, I love horror movies.
But it's been a while since I've seen them, nonetheless.
Evil Dead and Cabin in the Woods, two best horror movies ever. Well, I guess it depends. The original Evil Dead was pretty shitty.
The only thing I liked about Cabin in the Woods was the way that guy on the motorcycle died.
Oh,
Because
That
he
was
was
pretty awesome.
he was such a dick, and I was like, when is he going to die?
the black guy? No.
No, that
Oh.
jock type.
Oh yeah, but he was a dick
Stereotype
because
there.
they're like messing with his pheromone levels. They're like a weird movie. They're like pumping these guys full of pheromones, so the not slutty girl actually becomes slutty, and the not asshole becomes an asshole to meet like generalized tropes in movies.
Yeah.
I did like a whole I had to write a report on that movie. And it's pretty interesting because none of these characters actually fit the roles that they were assigned to, so they forced them to fit it.
Oh, okay.
And that was like the whole premise is like postmodern.
What about the stoner guy?
Well, the stoner guy was supposed to be the joke, but he ends up becoming the hero. So like everybody didn't actually fit their roles per se. Like he wasn't supposed to be a survivor, but he ended up becoming the survivor. Like the virgin girl was supposed to either die or survive. I don't know. It's just supposed to overall it's just supposed to be like a self-aware movie,
Right.
and that's what I kind of liked about it.
I liked how it hinted that it was actually a sequel to the Evil Dead franchise, in the sense that it had one of the monsters being angry, molesting trees.
Yeah, and they also had Deadites.
Mm-hmm.
If on the board, and they had a couple other ones. Did they pin to Pinhead? I think they did, but I ain't completely sure.
There was a Pinhead type character, yes.
Yeah. Oh yeah, he had saw blades in his head. But yeah, just like the whole pop. Like I don't know, I was hoping that they would do a prequel to that movie, because they technically can't do a sequel without
Because
it
the
being
whole world got
god-awful.
destroyed or whatever.
Exactly. Best ending ever.
The sequel is Mad Max. But I don't know. I would like to see, because they hinted that the other genres of horror films too. They hinted at the Japanese has its own sort of thing, and Germany has its own sort of thing.
Which is
So.
true. I mean, I don't know much about Japanese culture, but I've seen some of their horror films, and That stuff is truly horrifying, in my opinion. It's scary.
Like
It's not-
Old Boy is pretty out there.
Well, I'm not sure if that qualifies as horror, but it was
cerebral, I guess.
traumatizing.
Or Missed Call. That was one, right? I forget the Japanese name for it.
Or Sweet Home.
What was it?
Oh, that was that NES game, right? Or it was
but it's
based on,
on
yeah, based on a movie. That's right.
The Grudge was originally a Japanese movie too.
So is Parasite
Yeah.
Eve.
Parasite Eve?
Yeah, well, it was a novel and a movie. I saw the movie.
Ringu was like a huge series there too.
Yeah. Good times.
It was like the U.S. always had like the whole slasher film. It seems like you go more European, you get stuff like Hostel. Go Japanese, you get what was? I can't think of any popular Japanese horror movies except for the ones that went to the U.S. There was one about a guy that got obsessed with turning himself into a robot. I forget the name of it though. But he just like starts implanting machines into him. It's
Well,
like,
he wanted to turn himself into a robot.
yeah.
Did he? And this is Japanese, where they have Kikimori. I'm sensing some R9K going on here.
Well, it was supposed to be like a body horror sort of film. Like he was mutating his own body.
Okay, so it's transphobic. Okay.
Yeah. But he was just like implanting like random screws into his flesh and stuff. It was just weird. Like taking out bones and replacing them with metal parts.
Well, that sounds pretty
He's
gross.
trying to be metal only.
Oh, God.
I think I just pissed off some people I party with.
How'd that happen?
A friend of mine, pretty cool guy, not with him, but he was talking about the woman that killed herself in the police while in jail.
Oh, okay.
And I made a comment about how conditions like depression, ADHD, and PTSD are still considered taboo.
Right.
And this guy just comes on and is like, they're not considered taboo. They feed them with medicine and drugs and methadone. I'm like, that's my point, is they'd rather just give kids and adults pills and drugs to solve the problem instead of finding the root problem to it.
Right.
And he's not getting the point. And he's like, well, your post is out of context. I was like, we agree.
Stop agreeing with me.
I don't get it. I was like, yes, you made my point, and I'm agreeing with you. You misunderstood what I was saying, and it's all right to say, oh, yay, yeah, we do have a common ground here. But I don't know why people can't just leave it at that.
I guess that's the nature of the internet, and they want somebody to argue with.
I think this person just felt the ADHD thing just hit too close to home.
That's entirely possible too.
He was like, they give all these medications to people. I was like, well, depression is taboo. We can't disagree with that. People do find it hard to seek help for depression.
Yes, they do.
I mean, suicide is the 10th leading cause of death in the U.S., and suicide is a 99.99999%, preventable.
Right.
Disregarding that one clause where somebody might have a condition where they seek euthanasia. But, it's preventable. Suicide is not like an accident. You don't accidentally kill yourself.
Well,
Then it's not suicide.
The Darwinian Awards might disagree with you on that one.
Well, then it's not suicide. It's just stupidity. You can't fix stupid. But it's a condition that's 100% preventable. Suicide is not an accident. It is a thought. It is something that you do in your head. It's completely preventable. And my whole argument is, you can either teach people like the signs. I'm not trying to say that you can teach people the signs of what to look for in other people. not to make it seem like it's bad, or you could teach people like where they could go for help for depression or PTSD or anxiety issues, which I've had all sorts of problems with. You know, like people don't realize that help is out there, and in the military they have to like strictly say, if you come for like mental disorders, it won't hinder your career at all, because people are literally afraid in their careers that they will not
That they're going
progress.
to be judged for it, and
Yeah, yeah, and they like even now when I go in, if I were to fill out an application or even in a new job, that's still something that you can choose whether or not to say it, and the prevailing uh, ideology now is just not to tell them that you have it, because more often than not they won't use it for good.
it does seem that way. I mean, even though they'll express that they won't. There's
Well,
just
society
there
seems to.
there have been times when I'm like, okay, well maybe I should just be honest and tell the truth, but then it's like, nope,
Yeah.
somebody's gonna try something, and
I've considered that too, but I usually opt not to do so.
Well, it's because society still has this stigma against this sort of. And I'm just going to say what it is. It's a slightly mental disorder or chemical imbalance in your brain.
Hmm.
I mean, it's nothing that you have any control over. It's nothing that but for some reason, people that happen to suffer from these particular ailments are looked down upon as being crybabies or whatever, what have you.
Well, it's judged in a very, not to cut you off, but it's judged in a very different way than, say, somebody that has HIV, or, well, that's a stigma too, but that's something different. But like, traditional illnesses, let's say, cancer or something of that nature.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. And I think a lot of people assume that these ailments are like, oh, excuse me, I burped. It's like look at like the Bible version of unclean. There's no like actual like scientific proof that it's bad, or it's gonna spread to you. But people still have that like bad juju, get away from me sort of thing.
Well,
Like,
yeah, and I kind of had to deal with that yesterday, which is why I've been I was actually supposed to be gone a little while ago, but I haven't, and that's part of the reason why I have not left yet. Is it's like people just say stuff, and they don't bother to care or even think about what it is that they're saying. It's just like, oh, let me say something that's completely douchey, and just, oh well, yep, it's totally cool to say that. I certainly like being insulted in front of my face and laughing about it.
oh yeah, nothing wrong with that. Well, that kind of leads me to what I was going to say next, is that people that don't even have any idea what it's like to go through it always seem to think they have the most insight, and it's just weird. It's like, well, if you don't really understand what it is that this person is suffering from, how can you fully, how can you give this brilliant analysis on how easy it is to just be positive and everything will be all right, and if you want it, it's, you can have it kind of deal. Because to me, that just sounds like nonsense from a self-help book.
You all sound like chapters from a self-help booklet. Sorry.
Yes, that's the line I always think of.
Well, in my pharmaceutical class, they were talking about this, and in the past, people assumed like depression was just not be able to handle life, like you need to man up, sort of thing, and it's not what it's about. And a lot of times, they treat depression with stimulants, which isn't necessarily a good thing, because you could be stimulating part of your brain that's making it worse. That's why they say, if you're taking antidepressant and you feel, if you have suicidal thoughts, you need to go see a doctor, because it's different stimulants in the brain. Like if you stimulate different parts of the brain, it's gonna have different effects.
That's actually really scary to think about, because like coming from my personal experience, like I've had those thoughts before, but never the whatever you want to call it, the motivation or drive to act on it. So if you go and you take this medication and then all of a sudden you're like, well, I feel motivated to make this happen, you could end up dead.
Yeah, for sure. And
I actually lived an experience like that once where they gave me the wrong meds,
Oh no.
and it got pretty close.
I actually just said I don't want to take them ever again.
well,
They
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 had me.
they
Oh,
ended
go
up
ahead.
telling me it was a misdiagnosis. They said it was something else, which, to be
Probably a
fair,
headache.
I believe. Well, to be fair, it is a symptom of what it's a symptom of what the doctor I have now diagnosed me with. But she said that they probably just saw that as the problem, and they didn't want to expand further and what the central cause of it is. They just figured, well, okay, we got this, and so we figure that's good enough, and so we're done.
Yeah. It's the human brain is so complex that we still don't understand everything about it. We're constantly finding new proteins and stuff like that. So
As long as nobody's gonna pull out that whole we only use 10% of our brains.
oh god. Yeah, okay.
Like really, what's the other 90% doing all day?
Yeah, I mean genetics failed much?
Well, since I don't have a lot of experience with anything, I clearly only use 10% of it. So, but that actually reminds me, even on a lighter level, even from a career standpoint, I've gotten stuff like the same attitude that people have towards depression and what I ended up having, because even then people didn't want to believe it, and I actually. That's another reason I don't feel like getting up right now is because I don't want to explain. I don't want to have to talk about that. What I actually got diagnosed with, but um, like even from a career standpoint, like people couldn't understand why I wanted to stop doing what it is that I wanted to do, and uh, depression was certainly a part of it, even though I don't think that's really helped recently. Even with the change, there have been some things that still irritate me. I can just deal with them better, but they would just say, "Oh, well, you're just." They would just write it off. People who never experienced it would just write off like, "Oh, you're just tired," or "You just need to do this." And it's like I've been trying to do all of those things for 4 or 5 years, and I still feel the same way. That's not the problem. The problem is I don't want to do it anymore because it sucks. That's all it boils down to. It's none of this. Oh well, I'm just tired, and therefore I say I hate doing this all the time. Yes, me being tired is the same thing as me saying I hate doing what I do because all people want to do is abuse you, and they act like you have nothing better to do than to do whatever they tell you to do and get paid nothing for it, and then say, okay, we're not going to pay you anything for it. You're going to stay up till 3 in the morning, and you're going to solve some problem. Then we're going to argue with you and tell you, we who don't do what you do, we're going to tell you how to do your job, and then we're going to tell you later on that you don't have any experience, even though we're telling you that we're giving you this because you're the expert at all of this, and therefore you know everything. But you don't know everything when it comes time to give you a raise or some extra money.
Well, that sounds entirely too convenient.
Well, that seems to be my career history in a nutshell. Trust me, if I could actually make some real money being a content creator, I would spend more time doing that. But that has not happened in the history of my existence.
I guess it's getting to that point that's the difficult part, and you obviously need time to do it, but you don't have time to do it if you gotta keep working, working out your career in order to survive.
So, guys, I don't know if anyone else here is hungry, but I just got a meatball, bacon, and pepperoni pizza. So,
Get out.
Oh,
I'm defaulting chicken right now.
I'm glad we don't have any vegans on this stream.
Fuck,
Oh,
man.
man.
Love meat.
I don't even have any
Love
food.
putting meat in my mouth.
I don't have any food either. When we went to the same place we're going to today, when we went there yesterday, they just had finger food, and it wasn't bad, but it was just like it's not something that will make you say, "Man, I don't have to eat for the rest of the day." It's like, oh, I guess I ate something a little bit or a little while ago.
Have any of you guys ever had bad experience with Denny's?
Denny's?
Yeah. Or
I don't
well,
think I've ever even really went.
not
Or
not to remind people of the '90s, but I don't buy things from Denny's. I don't like the way we've been treated.
So there was this one incident at Denny's, since we're talking about bad experiences. They had this bacon palooza or whatever they want to call it, bacon month, whatever.
Okay.
God.
And so I got this bacon pancake. It was delicious. Bacon shake, not quite so delicious. I don't.
Oh yeah, that sounds
Salty.
very weird.
Anyway, so funny story. Later on, like immediately after eating all this stuff, and I'm full, just packed. And a buddy of mine challenges me to a race on this BMX course.
Oh no.
But we're not on bikes. We're running. We're running this thing.
I'm guessing this story ended with it being muddier than Movie Bob after a burrito.
No. I mean, I won the race, but there were some casualties. I mean, I lost my meal. I lost everything I paid for.
Oh man.
Well, I would chalk that up to your fault.
Yeah,
No,
I bet you did I bet you did win the race. I bet you ran it all the way through.
the last two times I went to Denny's, there's two Denny's like in the town right next to mine, and both of them are in a pretty bad neighborhood. But I've been to both of them, and the last few times I've been to both of them, I've gotten severely sick. So like, the first time I ate there, I got sick. I thought it was a coincidence. Second time I ate there, I got sick again. Horrible, same feeling, same everything. So I went to the other Denny's that's in that town and got completely sick again. So 3 separate occasions at these 2 Denny's I've gotten sick at in a row.
Man.
But I went to the one in Napa and that one's good. So I don't know.
Did that one tell Vegeta what the scouter said on his power level or about his power level?
But
Over 9,000 sausages.
oh god, I got so sick. So I don't eat meat at Denny's anymore.
I've
I
not
either
gone
get
to
pancake
Denny's in about
waffles.
10 years. So, and it wasn't because of the racism. It's just because I don't like a lot of Denny's food. So,
Racist.
yeah, in the mid '90s, they refused to serve a black customer. That's where there was a joke made in the movie Bad
I've
Boys, and
never heard of
that's where the I don't like the way we've been treated line came from.
I've never heard that before.
Yeah, that's where it came from.
They covered that up really well then.
Well, it was in South Carolina, if that surprises anybody.
In the 90s?
Yeah, mid '90s, because the movie. Yeah, it was around '94, '95, because that's when Bad Boys came out.
Was there like what brought that up? Just like, yeah, we're not serving black people anymore.
There was a black couple that went into Denny's and they started ordering, and they said that they weren't going to take his order.
Oh jeez.
Wow, I never heard that.
Wow. Just wow.
Like, you are
That
going
was
to take
probably
my order.
That was probably before the internet was popular too. So if that happened now for any reason,
Yeah, that was like the days of Prodigy and dial-up. So, but yeah, there were a couple of shows that made jokes out of it, and like I said, the movie Bad Boys made a joke about it, or in the opening of the movie where Martin Lawrence and Will Smith are arguing about Martin Lawrence eating in his car, and Will Smith says that his car's not at Denny's, and Martin Lawrence says he wouldn't buy anything from Denny's anyway because he didn't like the way they've been treated.
That movie's so funny.
there's a TripAdvisor review. It says Denny's doesn't serve black African Americans.
Where's Kanye West?
This is back in 2013.
Oh wow.
Yeah, I want to say I thought they got in trouble again for not serving.
I guess we haven't progressed as far as we thought.
Well, this one was in Tennessee. That makes
Well,
sense.
I'm in a fairly progressive state. I use the word progressive in a sense that, open-minded, not necessarily like overly progressive. but there's actually a local flower shop that refused to sell flowers to a gay couple's wedding.
Jeez, that again?
Yeah, isn't that aren't they the ones where they tried to have that I can't remember what they called the way that the media phrased that one is like in Indiana they called it like a freedom of religion law, but the way they called it in that state was like it basically was basically the inverse of that, like the religion is evil law or something like that. Because what they were doing, because what happened is like that flower shop got in trouble or they got a complaint on them, but then there was another one. There was a like a Christian, or it wasn't Christian. It was a bakery or something that was ran by a gay couple, and I think somebody asked for a Bible cake, and they said they
Oh.
wouldn't serve them because they didn't want to served they didn't want hatred or something in their shops, and so they filed a complaint against that store too. So then they were trying to legislate to see if they should allow either ones, and they decided thankfully that they weren't gonna tell people what to do with their businesses.
Well, as far as I'm concerned, I mean, you have the right to refuse service to anybody, but you got to understand that, there's consequences to you refusing service based upon certain things.
Well, the
Yeah,
way
I
I
mean,
see it
people are
is,
gonna- Go ahead.
if you like my cousin or my cousin's husband, when I had the argument about this with him on Facebook, he was saying
best place
it's
to
a free
conduct
country. Yeah, he was saying it's a free country. I was like, well, it is an open market. You can't pick and choose who you want to. You can't discriminate. And you can say, hey, we don't want to sell to kids, or we don't want to sell to, I guess will be another demographic. I don't know. We don't want to
Midgets?
sell.
No.
I don't know. But you can't pick like things that is out of someone's control to pick. Like if you're selling wedding cakes and two women come in and say, will you make a cake for a wedding? Just your regular cake, you would just have it the same as any other cake. It's just a wedding cake for our occasion. And you say no, then you're being disingenuous. If they were to go there and say, hey, we want a cake that's shaped like a vagina, then you could say no. But he was like, well, it's a free market. I was like, yeah, it's a free market. You're open to everybody. You are open to sell to everybody. They can't dictate what you can make, but you can't deny service to just anybody.
See, I think that walks the fine line of what you can do, because then you run into this situation of, well, what happens when somebody, like the whole no shirt, no shoes, no service thing. Yeah, somebody can control that, and that's where you can say that the difference therein lies. But the idea that if I run a company and I want to build websites for somebody, if I want to build websites, there are certain people I don't want to build websites for. And and that's on both sides of the coin, and I can say that because I've actually done one for one industry, and I regret it doing it for that industry now. But that, yeah, you're open to everybody, but just because you're open to everybody doesn't mean you necessarily have to serve anybody. Then that's where it gets difficult, and that's, you're telling somebody who they can sell to or not. So if I say, well, if I say this is Basketball Jones's medical IT service company, and some retail store comes to me and I say, well, we don't really do that. Well, the person can't control what I do either, so they they might look and say, well, we like your work, but we don't understand why you won't serve us. When I say, well, I don't understand your industry well, so I mean, somebody could always make that kind of argument in a situation like that, to where they say, I don't understand it, and it doesn't make me comfortable because I don't know. I mean, it's baking cake, but some
It
people
is.
still feel a certain way, and the idea of the free market is uh, to me, dictating that you have to sell to everybody is then that's where people who want to, then people can't specialize in a certain thing, because then that means everybody has to accommodate for everybody, and everybody might not be good at accommodating for everybody. And so in a situation like that, like in the other case where they said, well, we won't make a hate themed cake, well, that's their opinion that it's hateful, and so that doesn't mean that it is hateful. They're just saying it is because that makes them feel better about themselves and saying, well, we're doing everything right and you're doing everything wrong. And so then that's where you play that tricky scenario of you're telling me what I'm doing is hateful, and then we're walking down SJW Boulevard and we're gonna make a right into the Tumblr building and have a further discussion about this. So my preference is that everybody just chooses who they want to. Like personally, in my opinion, if I go to a place and they don't want to serve me because I'm black, then I just get up and leave.
Yeah, like
I
why
don't.
would you want to do business there or try to force somebody into it? Because it's even if you do win, it's not genuine.
And then
Yeah.
how do you know they don't do something? Like how do you know they don't blow a load on your food or something
Yeah.
like that?
Yeah, for sure. For sure. You don't want to force somebody to make something for you, for sure.
Well, that's where the consequences come in. I mean, if somebody does do something like that, I mean, we have the internet. Somebody posting one complaint about one thing, and it can spread like wildfire in the right groups.
Well, it's like that car dealership that gave that pizza
Yeah.
delivery guy a hard
Mhm.
time. Man, I think they're out of business now. I ain't completely sure. But they got flooded from either Reddit or 4chan.
Oh God,
Just like so many bad reviews.
the kings of moral high ground.
And they were smart enough to release the video in its entirety themselves. It's like, hey, look at the asshole-ish thing we did. And the last I heard, that pizza guy, they raised a GoFundMe to give him a tip, and he
Yeah.
denied it. So that guy seems like a good guy in my book.
Yeah, that's crazy because that GoFundMe thing I think reached ridiculous amounts.
I would have been like, oh, thanks so much, man. I'm going to go get a college degree while I'm at the Virgin Islands. No, I'm on vacation.
Yes, it takes a big man not to accept that money because I definitely would be tempted.
I would.
A funny thing is I actually saw one of those house hunting shows where this couple did run off to the Virgin Islands for the purpose of going to school.
Well, house hunting is for white people.
Well, they happened to be white, and the wife was the breadwinner and the one that wore the pants. The husband was the one that was in school.
So the husband was the cockhole.
Oh,
Yes.
God.
Yes, exactly.
Oh man. What was another thing?
Oh, that was some good pizza.
I always fantasize if I ever won the lotto, what I would do. I would run away. No one would ever see me ever again. I have a huge
Do you-
family. If I won any sort of money, half of it would be gone instantly if they found out.
Do you have a specific destination?
I would like to travel the world. That has always been my personal dream. So
I guess a pile of money would make that possible.
That's my dream too. Although I can say at this moment, I don't feel like going anywhere. I've been to like 4 or 5 different places this month.
The thing is, I would like to be lazy in different places.
Okay,
I would like
well,
to go to Japan and just play video games for like a month straight.
okay, now that's something I can get with. This
Yeah.
what I've been doing hasn't been the closest thing I got was the two days before I started my new job when I was in New York. I got to do nothing, and so we actually got to do stuff in New York without going to the city, which I was glad I didn't do because I don't want to pay $20 for 2 ounces of alcohol.
See, for me, it's like traveling's all about the people. It's not about the places; it's about the people you're with. And I'm the best person I know, so of course I would like to be with myself.
Oh, God.
Well, since I'm perfect, I can be anywhere I want. But yeah, I would. Well, I would say for me, it's probably the people I'm with. I'm not so happy here, even though I kind of am because of the people I'm with. Next week I'll be even less happier because I won't even be with people I know. It'll basically be me and some people that I've seen once or twice, and I'm going to be doing a bunch of time wasting activities.
Whose passions include social justice.
Yeah, I actually did meet one of those people, and they said that's one of their things. They love that. They actually gave an example where uh, they said something, or like they protested or something. That was
Oh boy.
You know, it's been a dream of mine to actually go on a protest with a sign that says everything is okay, and on the other side it says I'm holding a sign,
I've
and
I've
just hang out doing that at this protest.
I've just wanted a sign that says protest. Just like I've wanted a bumper sticker that says your bumper sticker sucks, and it just applies to any bumper sticker I see.
That's like the sweatshirt I want that says problematic. That's all I want. Nothing else. Just a big bold impact font or something like that.
Impact font. You got to do the meme font.
Yeah. Or something that would make sense for Tumblr, but I don't really know.
Comic Sans.
Yeah.
Well, that you can't get any more professional than Comic Sans.
That's how I compose all
sure.
of my emails.
That's business professional right there.
I actually have had plenty of work emails where it's been in Comic Sans. I'm like, you guys realize this is a corporation, right? Like when I start another company again, that's going to be a law that you cannot use comics. If you use Comic Sans, you're fired on the spot.
You guys know we're here to make money, right?
Well, professionalism is oppressive, so.
Apparently so, because all these people love to be like, oh man, I want to wear my piercing. Like I don't care about tattoos so much. If I were to have a company, I wouldn't care if it's business casual attire. I wouldn't care about tattoos because you're not even going to see them because it's business casual.
Right.
But stuff like having all the lobes in if it's business casual, you can't have the lobes.
Did you see the thing that said air conditioning is sexist in offices?
I did see that actually.
Oh my god!
So somebody explain to me the sexism in air condition or climate controlled office environments.
Is it because you can blow up girls' skirts sometimes? Maybe.
No, it's because us oppressive males are in the perfect temperature for us, but women are cold and chilly, and it's not pleasant for them.
Well, the cold and chilly part, the cold part, I might agree with in some regards, but it probably won't get me any points.
It's just a thyroid problem.
See, what I don't get is women complain about the dress code for women, but when you get to a business setting, I've never heard of a job that doesn't dictate what you're allowed to wear or not wear.
Yeah, I mean it's just in general. It's not like
I never got why the dress code was sexist.
Yeah, like I've been constantly reminded, like, oh, this is business casual. Like, thanks, guys. I've never had a professional corporate job in my life before. Would never know what business casual means 9 years into my career. So thank you for that. And it actually got to a funny point because it was a guy sending the email, so he didn't know what business casual was for women. So he said, just use your best judgment.
Women come in and take tops with no bras, and hey, can I get that promotion?
Oh, I don't even want to know what would happen in that case.
Was you see that video of the women going, my boobs are down here. Look at my boobs.
I think I missed that masterpiece.
It was I saw it on Facebook, but it was one of those. Oh, man, I can't find it now, but it was just like it almost looked like one of those like SJW sort of things. Like that one from before, the women like sexualizing men sort of thing.
Mm-hmm.
It was like my eyes are up here, but look at my boobs. Boobs are like the eyes of the chest. You think I wear this horrible thing straight to ignore it? If I find it, it was kind of. It's usually like some sort of clickbaity thing, so I can't help myself.
Well, I did see this posted on Jezebel, so that
So you know it's reliable.
right.
Somebody's getting a phone call.
Not me.
My phone has no service in this bedroom, so
I already got a phone call, the "Where are you" phone call, and I have broken pixels on my phone, so I don't think I'm getting any more calls.
I just had a girl message me on OkCupid, and this is the message. How about dinner tonight at blank and blank, say around 8? And I got this 3 hours before 8 o'clock.
all right, go for it.
Yeah, I was about to say I don't know what time it is anymore because I'm 3 hours ahead of you.
But yeah, this was actually sent yesterday, but it was just like, it's sent at 4:30 p.m. and she's like, say around 8, about an hour out of your way. No, I don't care who you are. This is I don't even know who this girl is. We haven't even talked. And this is like a common thing on OkCupid. Like, I don't know if just random women in my area just like to dominate, but yeah, I'm not going out of my way just for you, sweetheart. I don't care unless you're rich and famous. I'm staying home.
I need
I don't want no
feminism because I plan on marrying rich, and I can't do that if my wife only makes 75 cents on a man's dollar.
You notice how the pay gap keeps increasing. Before it was 77 cents. Now it's 75. It just keeps going.
Even though all the stats are showing that it's decreasing, even though the actual stats are showing it's decreasing. Because I think it's 95% now.
Well, statistics are the work of the patriarchy, so.
So yeah. Well, it's just you saw Maddox's video about the wage gap.
Yes, yeah.
It's 7% of the 7%. So you took part of the statistics, completely cut it into a portion, and said, "This is it."
Yeah, they're like, okay, although we've managed to accommodate for the 7% is still, or what do they say, 23% is still unaccounted for, or something like that, which ended up just being 7.
Well, apparently the only difference between the gap can be accounted for the fact that men are better at negotiating wages.
Or well, that they actually negotiate.
Yeah. Well, they're more likely to negotiate.
Wait, I'm supposed to negotiate my wage?
Well, in a professional setting, you can negotiate it more. When it's if it's like McDonald's, no, well, you can't negotiate that. But
you can protest on the streets for $15 an hour. So.
Well, I'm still upset that there's grants just for women still, when women are 60% of graduates and attendees in college. That doesn't make much sense to me.
Yeah, even a lot of the entitlements, or if you want to call them that, are very, very much centered towards women. Because I remember there was a time when I was in college and I was really struggling, and it was the only way you could do it is basically you had to be a single mom, and you had to make even less money than I was already making.
Well, it's all the women my age at my college are single mothers, or mothers in general. It's just it's almost better just to be a single mother, because you get so many extra benefits. I mean, I understand having a kid sucks by yourself, but you get so much help. There's nothing telling you this is a bad thing. You shouldn't strive for this.
Well, start to identify as a woman and adopt.
I just don't get it. I feel if I don't know, it's probably my MGTOW, tiny portion MGTOW part of my brain going off. But I feel if they were just if they were just to cut off all support, it would suck for one generation. But afterwards, you would stop having single mothers and child support and all this stuff. It would suck for maybe 50, 60 years, but it will eventually stop if they just cut all of it. Just say no more child support, no more nothing. You make a mistake, you gotta live up to it. We have contraceptives, we have everything to keep you from having children. We'll offer free like IDUs. What are they called? The implants. We'll offer free those. Just if you have a kid, you have to take care of it. Period.
Well, the problem I have with that is it takes two to tango.
Yeah,
And-
I mean that would sort of absolve the father of any responsibility when just because he doesn't want to be in the picture or whatever reason.
But they more or less do because they penalize those fathers that want to be involved by and I guess that's the MGTOW part going off.
But
Right, they usually
I-
default the
that-
custody to the mother, right?
Yeah,
that
no,
is an
regardless of
extreme
how
view. I
irresponsible
understand.
she is.
That is
And
a very
it-
extreme view on my part.
And it takes a lot of I guess it takes a lot of convincing to get the child away from the mother. So that's not fair. I'll admit that.
I understand it's a completely extreme view, and it's not like my full-hearted view of what we need to do. It's just like a fantasy, I guess, is a way to put it. My extremist fantasy right there.
I'm sure we all have those on some level.
Is it your
Yeah.
final fantasy?
Ooh. It depends.
Yeah, brought to you by the people who don't understand the word final.
That was 15
15
games
games
ago.
later.
It's time to let it go.
Let it go. Oh, sorry. We already went down that path, didn't we?
I keep doing that. I just keep leaving it open.
Screwdriver in my ear. I still haven't seen that movie yet, though, so I'm kind of proud of myself.
Unfortunately, I did, and it wasn't really by choice. I just happened to be sitting in the same room where people were watching it, so.
I was in the same room and I just fell asleep. I was like, "Yep, no, I'm not watching this."
Well,
I've
to
seen
be
it at
honest,
parts where I think I've seen it. I just haven't
to
seen
be
it.
honest, I got curious because people were making such a big deal, and I was like, really? Why? This is not that good.
I was like, oh, there's a toxic snowman. Woo! I like Despicable Me. Oh,
Despicable Me was alright.
Oh,
I mean,
yeah,
it was kind of
Yeah, that was all right.
Well,
it
I
was
don't.
kind of predictable, but on the other hand, it was still funny. It was still entertaining.
Well, I don't
The
know
only
anything
thing-
about that. I
The
don't
only thing that kind of starts to drive me crazy now is this whole Minions craze.
oh, that they're boys because he couldn't see women being that stupid.
Yeah, that was an actual comment. Imagine if that comment was said in reverse.
Yeah, I mean, it definitely would.
Well, I don't have that problem. I don't watch movies.
I make them. Well, I don't know. I think my eyes have been opened up to like a lot, and I guess there's like still that like open wound to like the shock of like here's so much bullshit from one side that I'm starting to see stuff on this side that I could complain about. It's just like for the longest time you think about in the past, like everything like that was healthy was considered diet or slim or light, like it was targeted towards women. Only recently have there been like diet drinks and diet foods that have had more of a male targeting to them, like, and when they do, like Dr. Pepper 10, they get demonized for it because Dr. Pepper 10 had that no girls allowed sort of thing, and women got butthurt and were like, well, come on, man, it's about getting guys to drink healthy, to be healthy, just take it. Don't you like men to be healthy? It means sexier men.
But
Which
they don't.
means
They
sexier
never
kids.
sexualize. They never sexualize men. So.
Forget that last part. It means healthier kids. Sexy men, sexy women make healthy kids, grow up to be healthy, and grow up as adults to be sexy in some genetics.
Your health standards are oppressive.
I know. I am not sexy. But I fear for our future. But I do like that McDonald's is losing money. It definitely seems like a good start. I guess.
Off to the right direction.
Yeah.
The right start.
I
I
have mixed
will-
feelings on that because if McDonald's goes under, who's going to hire all these kids?
Yeah, to make those very diverse commercials.
Yeah, exactly.
That is a good question, I suppose.
I mean, Disney can only employ so many children per episode of their shows. I mean, we gotta, you know,
Well,
spread the
those aren't
wealth.
kids. Most of the kids, quote unquote, on Disney Channel are like in their 20s, and they just look like they're 14.
That's what they do at Disney World. They look really young, but they're
I thought that's what they did, like 90210 and Dawson's Creek. But those are shows that are showing my age.
well, they did, yeah, because
Luke Perry's like 50. He's playing a
Really?
teenager in high school. No, I don't know.
he was pretty old.
He was definitely probably like 30s or early 30s. Or maybe
Jeez,
not.
I feel
I
freaking
think they-
old
Or like
now.
late 20s, sorry.
Well, I think
Mid-
Degrassi was one of the only ones that actually have like age,
Actual
like,
age
kids.
appropriate, yeah.
And then there was Skins UK and Skins US, which was kind of like adult Degrassi, I guess, or more mature Degrassi, because they dealt with actual like pregnancy and rape and stuff like that. Well, I guess Degrassi might have. I don't know. I never
Well,
watched that.
pregnancy they did, I think, but maybe rape. I mean, that's all Degrassi was about. It was basically just like, here's shock value.
Like the biggest teenage mistakes you could ever make were all presented in one show.
I think Skins was just more out there, more in your face, because I think they actually had nudity on Skins, just with the adults.
Color me surprised that a show called Skins would have nudity in it.
I was gonna go there, Makaton, but I thought it was, yeah.
Well, if there's somebody who's always willing to open that door, it's always me. I never care. I always consider myself to be like the young man with the old man attitude, so I don't even care. I have lower inhibitions than I did when I was younger.
I've come to terms with I'm that weird guy that is possibly people either like or severely dislike. It has been my experience.
That's
People either love me completely or completely want nothing to do with me.
that's pretty much me. So that's why there are a lot of
usually
things.
not much middle ground.
Yeah, there aren't too many people that just are ambivalent. It's like they feel one way or another, and that's fine. Because usually, if I don't like them, if they don't like me, I don't like them either.
Yeah.
So,
Well, I've come to terms like a lot of people that disliked me have always like gotten in trouble some way or another. Like I've had NCOs that treat me like shit and then get busted with child porn.
so you worked with Jared?
Yep. No, it's just really weird. Like people like have like a bad attitude towards me, and then they would get an R15 like within that month. I'm just like, yeah, karma. But I think it's just like people. I tend to not pretend to be somebody else. If you hang out with me, I'm just gonna be myself.
I think
I don't put up a.
my internet is falling apart.
Oh God, get together, man.
Your
all I got.
your internet needs some counseling. Don't just give it
Probably.
Zoloft or something.
It also needs, yeah, needs the full workup here.
So I saw the trailer for the new Goosebumps movie. I think it's gonna be bad.
There's a trailer available for it now.
Yeah,
There is.
they released it at E3, I believe, or during E3.
Oh, okay.
Not
Just
E-
two
not
words.
E3.
Two
Maybe
words.
I saw it then.
Not E3.
Jack
Comic Con.
Black.
Jack Black. Yeah. Well, he kind of seems like he's not much of a dumbass, but I don't know. It's his character.
I guess time will tell.
I just hope I see some of my favorites in there. I guess that's all I can really hope for. I just kind of assume from the trailer that it's just like a fanfare movie. It's just strictly for fanfare. Like a company bought the rights, and we're like, well, people will buy if they see their favorite characters. Let's put all of them in it. Like,
In
I'd
other
like
words,
to,
you're saying it's like the Dissidia of movies for books.
well, they're probably trying to go for a lot, Cabin in the Woods, but less good writing. Less good writing.
Speaking of less good writing, no, sorry.
Uh,
Speaking of Kotaku,
What up, Cabin in the Woods? Nah, I like Cabin in the Woods though. But I don't know. I think that's what they're going for. I think they're trying to go for if we put as many of these iconic things from these adults' childhood's books, they will come to see it and they will think they love it. So we don't really need to worry about the cast or the writing.
like they did with the Michael Bay TMNT.
Or Transformers.
Well, I kind of like the first Transformers, but
The first one was alright, but the rest of them,
TMNT
Optimus
kind of
Prime.
pissed me off. TMT I fell asleep during.
Optimus Prime has been known for one
I
thing,
did not see it.
and that is his lack of a ruthless edge. He would never kill anyone, even if it meant his own life.
All right, Batman.
I don't know who came first, Optimus Prime or Batman, but
Batman in the 60s, I believe. Was it 60s?
40s, 40s.
Oh wow.
Wow. Batman should be retirement age by now.
Yeah, he should be.
Batman should be old man.
Well, when Batman first came out, he killed people, though, right?
Yeah, he was all into guns and everything. And then in the 60s, they changed it.
Then he stopped being a right-wing conservative, and
Well, there was the code of conduct that they had for the comics, and that limited a lot of stuff. And I think that's what made them like say, okay, superheroes can't kill anybody, and they can't have werewolves, and they had to like find loopholes to actually have like mythical creatures in them.
And apparently, I don't know if... I think they never really said if they could be gay, I think, but they said they couldn't be bisexual. So they made them choose one or the other. Because that's
like,
what
no,
they did.
you're gonna choose.
That's what they did with Mystique. Like, oh, she impregnated a woman. Well, let's go ahead and erase that and say they were just good friends.
Let's say she was forced to. She was brainwashed.
It's like you got to be one or the other. You can't like both.
Well, I think they weren't allowed to have like vampires or werewolves. They had to like call them different things. Am I right?
They had to call them.
I don't know, but that
blood extraction specialists.
I guess.
if Twilight can have vampires and werewolves, why can't comic books?
Oh God, please don't bring up that movie. Please don't bring up that series of movies.
Well, comics had like the same thing games had in like the 90s and 80s when they're trying to ban them for kids. They're trying to say that they were bad and evil and all this stuff. So they put so many restrictions on it that.
I suppose Dungeons and Dragons is evil too, huh?
Oh, for sure.
Well,
I had a friend
That
whose,
always got a bad
family-
rap.
I had a friend whose family was against having playing cards in the house because playing cards, of course, is synonymous with gambling all the time, so that they were evil.
Some
really
people
sucks.
really stretch these things to like unbelievable degrees.
But the thing is, his parents didn't care if he made playing cards, so he had like a deck of note cards. Like not posters, but you know the 4x6 cards, and they
Yeah.
would say ace, king, queen, and he just had those if you want to play like an actual card game like Mafia or what other games that we used to play. So I was like, so what's the difference? There literally is no difference.
But you're not supporting the people that develop these cards for these gambling companies.
Of course.
Or here's an
Ice Pickle's
here's
going
one.
down
You could just say don't gamble. That if that's what you want in your household, you can just say don't gamble.
True.
Dude, I was gambling when I was like 10. It was only
What?
for like pennies and dimes and stuff, but still, I was gambling.
Or for somebody's fruit pie or something.
Yeah, yeah.
Capri Sun.
See, we just pretend we were in the WWE when I was, or WWF when I was in
Back when it
elementary
was the
school.
WWF.
Yeah, back before.
None of this World Wildlife Federation stuff.
Oh, hold on.
Awkward silence.
Yeah, my internet is acting weird. I think the connection is slowing down because everything seems to be kind of skippy for me, and
Now,
not like the peanut butter.
I don't think I ever had Skippy peanut butter in my.
It's nothing to write home about.
well, I might need to drop out here pretty soon anyway myself, so.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think
I will too because
we got enough.
I need some diapers, not for myself, of course. I'm perfect, and therefore I never need to use the
Accidents don't
restroom.
happen.
Well, I never need to use the restroom ever because I'm perfect. But
Yeah, I'm getting a download speed of 7.74, and that's way lower than what I'm paying for.
Mbps or kbps?
Yeah, Mbps.
Okay.
I might want to just complain and see what they do. I remember my uncle said he would do that.
Yeah, they're blaming it on the range extender, which I think is bullshit because it was working when I first got it. It was working perfect. I was getting great speed. I was streaming and everything.
Well, yeah, of course they're going to blame something that isn't there so that they can have plausible deniability. So, well, it's not something I did. I've been in IT long enough to know that trick.
Yeah, so, well, if our buddy here makes it back in a reasonable amount of time, we'll cut it off when he gets back in. But if he takes too long, I guess we'll have to leave him in the dark. And he'll just be like, "Where did everybody go?"
Why does that have to be alone in the dark? It's offensive.
I was trying to not flash my light privilege.
Flashlight privilege. I see what you did
Yes,
there.
there's a pun in there somewhere.
10 out of 10 would pun again.
Okay. Well, I'm going to stop broadcasting. So, thank you everybody for listening. If you stayed for the show or if you are watching at a future date, much appreciated. Thanks for joining in, guys. We'll have you again.
No
My
problem.
pleasure.
Don't remember.
Okay.
Don't forget to cross
Good night, everyone.
Have a good evening.
That's true. All right. See you later.